واستشهدوا من يكتب.
في تيه الظلام يقاسي اليتيم، تحتضنه الآلام ويؤويه التشريد والضياع، ويواريه الجوع والفقر. يلتف حوله الحزن ليشاركه أيامه. خذوا معاناته، ولكن تذكروا أنا وكافل اليتيم كهاتين في الجنة. ثم أشار بالسبابة والوسطى عليه الصلاة والسلام.
غريب في الحياة وفي الممات، ومجهول الهوية والصفات. كذا كانت حياتي دون معنى، يفسرها ككل الكائنات. غريب في الحياة وفي الممات، ومجهول الهوية والصفات. كذا كانت حياتي دون معنى، يفسرها ككل الكائنات. إلى أم تهدئني رضيعا، تقبلني ككل الأمهات. بلا أم تهدئني رضيعا، تقبلني ككل الأمهات. تكفكف لي دموعي حين أبكي، وتسمعني أغاني المرضيات. غريب في الحياة وفي الممات، ومجهول الهوية والصفات. كذا كانت حياتي دون معنى، يفسرها ككل الكائنات. بدون أب أضم إليه اسمي، ويحميني سهام النائبات. بدون أب أضم إليه اسمي، ويحميني سهام النائبات. يقربني ويمنحني حنانا، وبعض الحب مثل الأعطيات. غريب في الحياة وفي الممات، ومجهول الهوية والصفات. كذا كانت حياتي دون معنى، يفسرها ككل الكائنات. إلى مأوى يلملم لي شتاتي، بلا أهل ولا حب يواتي. بلا مأوى يلملم لي شتاتي، بلا أهل ولا حب يواتي. أقاسي اليتم ويح اليتم إني لا نسب فأحمي فيه ذاتي. غريب في الحياة وفي الممات، ومجهول الهوية والصفات. كذا كانت حياتي دون معنى، يفسرها ككل الكائنات. سأبقى في صراع سرمدي، وأصرخ بالدموع الساخنات. سأبقى في صراع سرمدي، وأصرخ بالدموع الساخنات. أمانا أيها القلب المعنى، ورفقا بالعيون البائسات. غريب في الحياة وفي الممات، ومجهول الهوية والصفات. كذا كانت حياتي دون معنى، نفسرها ككل الكائنات، غريب في الحياة وفي الممات، ومجهول الهوية والصفات. كذا كانت حياتي دون معنى، نفسرها ككل الكائنات. برحابها أعليت منطلقاتي، وربحت فيها أثمن الصفقات، ومضيت أعدو كالجواد بأفقها، مستثمرا برياضها أوقاتي. برحابها أعليت منطلقاتي، وربحت فيها أثمن الصفقات، ومضيت أعدو كالجواد بأفقها، مستثمرا برياضها أوقاتي. في جامع نمر برات حلقاتنا، أنعم بها والله من حلقاتي. في جامع نمر برات حلقاتنا، أنعم بها والله من حلقاتي. قد أشرقت بالذكر أشرف غاية، فتأملوا بالفخر إشراقاتي. برحابها أعليت منطلقاتي، وربحت فيها أثمن الصفقات، ومضيت أعدو كالجواد بأفقها، مستثمرا برياضها أوقاتي. حمدا لك اللهم أنت هديتني وأنرت لي بسنى الهدى طرقاتي. حمدا لك اللهم أنت هديتني وأنرت لي بسنى الهدى طرقاتي، وشرحت صدري في ربا حلقاتنا، لأزيد من عزمي ومن طاقاتي. برحابها أعليت منطلقاتي، وربحت فيها أثمن الصفقات، ومضيت أعدو كالجواد بأفقها.
Okay, now I'm scared of the white woman. I am scared of the white woman. What you practice?
يا رب وفقنا لحفظ كتابنا، لنفوز بالعليا من الطبقات. يا رب وفقنا لحفظ كتابنا، لنفوز بالعليا من الطبقات. واشرح صدور المحسنين ببذلهم وعطائهم من وافر الصدقات. وعطائهم من وافر الصدقات. برحابها أعليت منطلقاتي، وربحت فيها
I was preparing food, and I was preparing to walk into my room, and then my mother reminded me of something that I'm already doing. And no, I did not forget. Hello.
Okay, now I'm scared of the white woman. What you practicing for? What you practicing for? What you practicing for?
هل رأيت الغصن يذوي؟ اللهم يا مقلب القلوب ثبت قلوبنا على دينك. اللهم يا مصرف القلوب والأبصار صرف قلوبنا على طاعتك. اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من الحور بعد الكور. هل رأيت الغصن يذوي مرتان، ورأيت الوردة البيضاء إن هكذا فارقني صاحب كنا إلى بعض نحن هكذا قلبي وقد فارقني صاحب كنا إلى بعض نحن كم تشاكينا هموم الدين
Hello everyone, how are we doing?
يصلع الفجر إذا الليل
I mean, it's more like I was walking in the kitchen, and I planned to record the TikTok as I came back to my room. And then my mother stopped me. And I'm like, oh, now I'm going to have to start over again, because her voice is going to be in the background. The risks I go to bring you content to laugh at. Also, for the fucking best.
كم بنينا بيت آمال إذا هب ريح اليأس فالبيت يكن كم تواصينا على الحق وكم كان في النفس يقين مطمئن ذكريات كلما راجعتها هز في صدري الفؤاد المستكن مدهاه أين أيام الإخاء أين طيف الشوق في القلب يعن مدهاه هل ترى غياره كلمة شوها تعوي وتزن أترى من لا فإني لم أزل ويكن الصدر ما كان يكن أترى من لا فإني لم أزل ويكن الصدر ما كان يكن أم ترى أبصار دربا آخران ظن فيه أنسه فيما يظن أم ترى أبصار دربا آخران ظن فيه أنسه فيما يظن وخطى الخطوات في غير هدان فإذا طاف الهوى كاد يجن وخطى الخطوات في غير هدان فإذا طاف الهوى كاد يجن ظامئ وسط سرابات الهوى بحره لهو وتزييف وفن ظامئ وسط سرابات الهوى بحره لهو وتزييف وفن وإذا أبصرته حيرني ربما أضحك والقلب يئن وإذا أبصرته حيرني ربما أضحك والقلب يئن يا أنا قد كنت أصفيك الإخاء لك نصحي وبنصحي لا أضن هذه كفي فخذها ولنعود وليعد في قلبنا الطير الأغن ولنعد نطرق أبواب السماء إنه الرحمن يعفو ويمن ولنعد نطرق أبواب السماء إنه الرحمن يعفو ويمن ولنعد نطرق أبواب السماء إنه الرحمن يعفو ويمن
يا ابويا انا جيت لك والنفس نادمانه وفي القلب نار تشب وتشعل اشعالي ولدك تاه الطريق وكثرة احزانه وشرب المرار
شيطانه صاحبك راعى وخلي ما له امثاني صديقك اللي يعد ثالث اخوانه وشلون خلاك تطريق للصديق
يا ابوي عطفك رميت روحي باحضانه نثرت دمعة سجين شاف الاهوالي لا عاد تذكر لي الماضي وخلانه وحوش فني
Today I do not have an agenda. I was taking care of mother's food. I'm fine. Carl, I've been following your Twitter for a while. Hard as you.
Carl, I'm so glad I could finally beat you. You look so bitter in person, bro. How you been?
I've been fine.
I've been so fine. أهملتني وانشغلت بجمع الأموال خليتني للهوى وإبليسي وأعوانه
I'd be so fine, and then boom! Depression. I'd be terrible. One day wanted to quit drugs. I understand too. When I had to try and quit white women, it was hard for me. It's still hard. It's still hard. That's ever all my social ties. Was that where the drugs were coming from? From social circle influence?
يا ابويا انا جيت والعينين غرقانه تايب على ذنبي وارجي رحمه الوالي
Took it out of here when it just
وادي صمت جدرانه وظل ما زوايا عنها موتي اشواني تعال يا روح ابوك ونبضي وجدانه
You're literally the only person I'm speaking to right now. Based. Or maybe not based. You should have friends. Healthy friends. Because Lord knows what happens if you have a parasocial relationship with me. Now for Carl Interquell. Okay, now I'm scared of the white women. What you practicing for? Yeah, this much is fun. Oh, she should have recorded. Okay, now I'm scared of the white women. What you practicing for? What you practicing for? What you practicing for? Okay, now I'm scared of the white women. What you practicing for? What you practicing for? What you practicing for? I know I'm gonna get friends, I just gotta work on it. You got this, Tide Pod. We believe in you. We believe in the heart of the Carl. The heart of the Carl is a whore. Everybody loves whores. Especially old white men. do one of the biggest cities in Spain. It's kind of easy. Cool. It'd be fairly simple. Anywho. Today, we will simply be looking through some of the back content that I have. Not particularly important shit, but shit that I wanted to cover and talk about on the stream anyways. As I eat dinner. And play Path of Exile in the background. Why? Because I have an addiction, and it's better than drugs. It's not better than women, but it's better than drugs. Before we get into that, how is everybody else's day going? Are we doing okay? Are we feeling alright? Did Horror get her guts rearranged after the gym? You know, the normal things. Or would you be too sore for that? Or is it like that one trick where you lay on your arm and then do it afterwards and it's like a new experience? None of your business, Carl. But the happiness of my audience is my business. It's very important. It's not important that I know all the details, but it's very important. I'm concerned that your everyday happiness is good. Covering from the stomach flu. Based. We will do them in this order. You are managing. And what was today? What exercises were today, Horror? Well, I navigate myself to my own chat room. There we are. Also, Fried Chicanery will be returning soon. Maybe not as soon as this month, but it will be returning soon. Jay's moved into her new place, which means we can begin standardized production. I do not have a showtime currently set. See, I'm always worried about if I should have background music play during moments like this, but the problem is that I've realized and learned that the best sound is no sound. Because after what we experienced in Sanctum, and because the new YouTube president is an asshole, it's easier for me to leave the air open so that it can be used at a regular interval at a regular date. It also helps with you all being able to edit the things afterwards. Put in your own soundtracks. Personally, I dislike it because it always feels, as a streamer brain, like it's dead air. But it's just better for the content, and it's also just better for thought. Because even though I like having music in the background, sometimes I can't think, even while I'm talking. So it's just generally better. Better ethics, better pizza, better money, better bitches, better flow, better jokes, better laughter. Is there anything else on the top of my head? I don't think so. Very ill for 2 days. When I get home, it's core exercises. Still at work. Based. I like light noises, heater, and vacuum. They help me relax the outside world. Well, unfortunately, I cannot have a soundtrack of women moaning. That would be unacceptable. For Twitch and YouTube standards. That is a joke. But you know what's not a joke? Whatever the fuck Jubilee did with this video. What degeneracy? What degeneracy did these people come up with, eh? Never before did I see in my life the idea of something as degenerate as this. What is going on in Jubilee, eh? Men rank themselves by penile size. Penile insertion. They are measuring the penile insertion. Incels? Nah, we can't use them for content no more. People are bored with that. They don't care, actually. They've moved on. How about a divide against transgenders? Topic's too hot. We'll get clowned on. Lord knows Amber Preach will be all over our asses. They stay on our asses. What do we do then? I know. I know what we'll do. We'll measure dicks. We'll measure dicks. Why shouldn't we measure dicks? It's a bit terrifying when you think about it. Is Jubilee allowed to make it just because? Or did they just say, well, let's see what happens? Or have they finally come around and understood that they shouldn't be angry about Ab Preach watching their content and making content from their content? And he decided to see what happens. Who knows? I don't know. Do you know? I don't know. We're finna find out. Right after I mark the timestamp. Ooh woo.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Great. All right.
Okay.
It's the moment of truth, my friend.
Yeah.
You'll be all right.
Okay.
Hey, yo! Hey, yo! The men will start by guessing who has the biggest dick based on appearance. At the end, they will be measured and ranked by flaccid, erect, and girth. Hey, yo! It cannot be understated how wild that is. It's already wild that that you are recording evidence of you having men measure their dick sizes for the purposes of content, because you know who your audience is. It's mostly women. Women and leftist men. The men you have assorted here. Asian. Token black. Asian with pop sensation K-pop hairstyle. With the one fucking blonde strip. White male. Indian male. Maybe gay. The tallest one might be gay too. Who knows? Then you got the fucking white boy in the end. This is not a gaggle-it, I can tell you that much. This is not a gaggle-it, because if it was a gaggle-it, they would not be doing this.
Carl, did you just censor yourself?
Yes, I did. It's a talent. So, like, when you tell me this, I'm like, hey, yo. Like, y'all put a screen here for effort, but everybody's staring at each other's wood. That's what I'm getting.
So, is everyone clear on what we're doing today?
Ranking dick sizes.
Perfect.
I think we all agreed.
All right,
You have that look.
Your eyes, man.
Just something about him.
You look like a porn star, bro.
He looks like he's got that dog in him, and he's putting that dog in everybody else.
So I'm gonna say that you the biggest. All right, now who we think is the smallest?
I don't know. You have a lot of confidence. Oh wait, no, the smallest. I was gonna say next biggest.
So even though I'm black, don't think that that's just what it is.
Nothing to do with.
Y'all motherfuckers knew that says what you wanted him to say, because he's the only black person fucking here. Let's not cap. Let's not cap. Let's not cap. Y'all know you wanted him to say that. Get all those stereotypical in there. Paulo, I dropped my yogurt and I need it. Crucial that I let you know. Go get another one. Ain't no use crying over spilt yogurt. Pick up another one.
Yeah, I'm putting myself in the middle somewhere, you know, it's like there's...
And you guys are taller. For some reason, I think that tall dudes might be a little more packing.
And what's the shoe size?
I'm small.
I feel like you should slide down a little bit.
It's not.
There is no correlation that shoe size actually equals dick size. That's just something people say. Because usually if you're taller, there's more purchase of skin on your body. And if you're leaner, there's more purchase of skin on your body. It's actually more likely that fat people will usually have the bigger penises. And the reason for that is actually biological and genetic. Because women, you know, if you have a large poom poom and a boofa that's protecting it, it's a lot more space. So they must be longer who get in the space. And yes, while the missionary position does help with this, because you just plow right in there, there's actually much more common that people use doggy. And this benefits someone with heft. Because ironically, in the position, your fat gets lifted up by her butt. This has been Host Secrets with Carl.
It's not the shoes.
I will say I have seen some little smaller folks who are really packing, so I don't know what to expect though, man. But I think because y'all are a bit more bulkier, I think y'all might be a little bit more packing.
Give me a try. Give me a try.
What do you...
number 1. Sorry, don't get offended. You come here. You go for number 3. You go for
I like
number
this.
2.
I think he knows what he's
You
doing.
go for number 4.
Where do you want it?
You go there, sir.
Alright.
How do you know? What makes you think like? What makes you think like
Yeah,
him,
what's your reason?
the bottom, or?
So where do you think you stand amongst the group?
Me?
Yeah, where do you think you
I
stand?
can't put myself there.
Well, so where do you think you stand?
That's wild. That's wild. He didn't say anything. He just like, oh, we would just gonna allow me to be the dick whisperer? Okay, I can be the dick whisperer. You come here. You get over there, pretty boy. Yes, you. Yes, you. Get over there. You come here. You go there. You over there. Come here. You here. Come there. You smell my fingers. Over there. And it's like, what makes you think, Jesse? What makes you think that we fit here? And he's like, where do you believe you belong? I cannot judge myself. Only God can judge me. But I can judge you. You gave me this power.
It's not up to me, it's up to you to decide.
I think he should just stay there.
I'm fine with him staying.
Go further down.
Men, this is the result of confidence. You don't have to laugh. You don't have to put people down. You just have to allow people to defer to you. And it is all better than having to be on the goddamn spot. Motherfuckers will not know. But niggas will know. He literally didn't do anything. All he did was just stand there. Exist. And they said, okay, I'm the dick whisperer.
You're on the top of the hill.
I think the two of you should switch at the very least, though.
I mean, it's whatever.
Hey, take it. Take the win.
So I have a question for you. Who do you think?
Why do you sound so effeminate? You look like you dressed in a 90s film, but you look like you work at the bar. Definitely a Barbie enjoyer.
Would be Pac, because we got a rank.
The two that we have is the smallest, I would say, probably. They're low-key, they're not talking a whole lot.
I would say y'all two at least in the middle, because y'all a bit more hefty.
I don't think I belong at the other end, though.
Well, damn, that's the point.
Here, I'll take one for the team and go to this side, so that no one has to.
Can I switch with you?
Surprise shocker. The femboy has the biggest dick. Maybe not. Who knows? It'd be wild if that would happen, though. The idea that the femboy's like, no, I'll just be over here. Meanwhile, he knows he's packing the size of a monster can. Is it because I've seen what happens on Twitter? Yes. Yes, I am saying it because of what I've seen happen on Twitter.
I mean, whatever you think.
Okay. I think that's good.
Do you have any input on this? I think I belong maybe in the middle, to be honest. So I'm gonna slide between maybe y'all two, maybe after you actually.
Oh wow. Okay. All right.
Everybody's a little self-conscious.
Okay.
All right, I think we've locked it in.
Also, ladies, take notes. You see the shit happening right here? That's men having self-awareness and being able to joke. Take notes, whores.
Locked in?
Sure. Looks good.
Okay, perfect.
I feel like that's a bad placement. I don't think you should be at the very end.
I'll just say, I can suck my own dick. So I would say I don't belong here.
That's a flexible thing.
Hey, yo.
Wait, I got one. What's the longest relationship everyone's been in? 25 years. Okay. What about you?
Longest was like 2.5.
All right, mine was 5 years. What about you guys?
6 years. 5 years.
Not applicable.
All right.
Oh, it depends.
Depends.
Depends if you ask me or you ask my partner.
Well, let's solidify our kind of like bachelors over here on this end. Is, you know, somebody's gonna lock it down for like consistent boyfriend. You know what I mean?
Define boyfriend.
It's honestly gonna be on the smaller end, in my opinion.
Average.
Oh, so because I've been in a relationship for 5 years, I got small dick, okay? So I'm gonna slide you in front of me because I got that SBC.
All right, but I'm not gonna lie though. Now that we've had him there for a minute, that's a little sus. Like,
Point.
So let's be real here. He's in first place because we didn't keep you know what I mean?
Let's ask him then. Are you fucking?
what do you mean?
Do you get a lot of sex? Do you get sex a lot?
I had the sex before I came to set.
Oh, there's what I mean?
I'm good with him there, yeah.
What is a 5 to 6 inches? Is a big or a small one?
Well, 5.5 is average for Americans.
I want to move you up.
No, you want to switch, right? You want to switch. Yeah, him and I might be.
There, yeah.
What is a 5 to 6 inches? Is a big or a small one?
Well, 5.5 is.
The average erect penis length is approximately 5.2 inches, with an average circumference of 4.6. I don't think we understand what an average circumference of girth is. Where's my tape measure? Where's my tape measure? Carl, why do you keep a tape measure in your top drawer? Don't ask why I keep a tape measure in my top drawer. It's confidential. I have to remember this is mirrored. Focus camera. 5.2 inches. 5.2 inches. 5.2 inches. Right? But 4.2 circumference. Ladies, do you understand? Do you understand? Like, for comparison, the bottom bottle. A bottle of Cholula. What's good, Carl? Oh, you know, I'm just measuring. Six. That ain't small. And yet there are people who do not know what average is, and they screw themselves with large bad dragon dildos. Gaped. Stretched. Absolutely prolapsed. So, like, the average 6-incher having a general circumference, so let's round up, of 5 inches? 5 inches of girth?
It's average for Americans.
I want to move you up.
No, we want to switch, right? Yeah. Him and I might be able to.
And I'm still gonna change between you and him.
Me and him?
Yeah.
Wait, but you're definitely.
Well, I disagree.
I will say, just to add this little tidbit, I remember some years ago, there was a girl that I was really attracted to, and we ended up messing around, right? And I was thinking, damn, if only I was bigger.
Go for a second. Go for a second.
I felt defeated. But that's the only time in my life I felt defeated. I just realized I can't handle everything, and I admit that.
That's fair.
There's no wrong there.
Happens to us all. I mean, because of that honesty, though, I might just push you a little bit, like, towards 3.
I mean, has anybody else here felt defeated before?
Honestly, no. Usually, I'm proud.
You might be proud, but were they proud?
Yeah, no, both parties, 9 times out of 10, both parties left happy.
So then to the question, does size matter? Well, as a gay man, I always say that I'm not a size queen. I'm a peanut.
How did I know? How did I know? How did I know? We all knew. We all knew.
Proportion queen. You can have a small but really pretty dick, right? And a big dick can just be like a massive, gargantuan honking thing, right? There's beauty in all penises, is what I like to say.
What a homosexual take.
Very poetic. Well, actually, that makes me think of something interesting. We have like the 3 shortest guys as the 3 biggest.
Too, yeah.
There's like a stereotype in the gay community that like small skinny guys always have like a honking third thing because like they don't go to the gym, so all their energy and food goes to that instead.
Okay, I have the same size penis since I'm 4th grade.
What?
Where are you gonna put me now?
What if he has a micro penis? What if we're ranking him as the biggest dick and he's got like a beautiful little 1 inch?
Beautiful 1 inch. Wow.
There's beauty in all penises.
Yes, you say that.
Well, yeah, I mean, did you hit puberty like 4th grade?
No. I was a
When did you
man.
So there's no way.
In that case,
I would kind of.
Yeah, in that case, I would probably put you a little bit more here. I'd probably put you next to me.
Next to you.
Yeah.
We're switching it up.
And I think you just like, because you didn't feel defeated, my friend. Right here, I'm cool, man, I'm cool.
Can you speak about the pressure to be bigger?
Personally, I've never faced
Nah,
that.
nah.
I don't feel that.
Like, as a man, yeah, there's some situations where with some women there's a stereotype, especially based on where you're living, where you will feel like, damn, I'm gonna need some mega dick for this, because you know she been ran through. As an African American living in the South, around white women, there's always been the pressure of, damn, this white bitch is talking to me. I wonder if she thinks that it must be hung like a fucking horse. And of course, again, damn, she been ran through. She's probably seen a ton. As an African-American male living in the United States, where I have actively seen people post themselves and give free information that I did not need to fucking know on the internet, I would say the pressure to be bigger doesn't come from competition with men. It comes from competition with women's sexual behavior. And when I say women, I mean online women, and by online women, I mean women who buy fake monster penises. Because it does not matter what I have. There is a woman who is taking something as big as this inside of her in every orifice. Every orifice. There is something that is very intimidating about a person who's going to look at you and say, boy, this is nothing. You should see what I do for an evening. And that's a permanently online situation that everybody's experienced. And I'm an experienced man. I have been in many places, and I have done many things with many objects, to the point that I don't give a damn anymore. Like, that's not my competition. That's my Mystery Mouse tool. I bring that out when I need some help. Talking about, oh, toodles. Yet at the same time, I question why, right? Because, like, despite the cringe from this scenario here, this presents us a really good, interesting conversation topic. Because how many times have you found yourself in social situations with women, or men, or homosexual men, or bisexual women, or women with a bi-curious streak, or people who have experienced large same-sex or opposite-sex orgies? How many times have you been in a social situation where your lack of understanding, or your depth of understanding, has allowed you to approach a situation that you otherwise would feel out of depth for? I can almost promise you, a 90s motherfucker would not be able to have these conversations because we were not able to have these conversations. How could we? We had a taboo around talking about sex. It's something that should be seen in private. And now people have made it normal to do this in public. Frequently in public. When you're talking about furries wearing fursuits out in the public, they on the sidewalk, knelt down in front of somebody, fucking getting it in. Talking about e-girls going out wearing fucking choker necklaces, putting fully on display exactly how open they are, freely speaking about how experienced they are and what they do to themselves. Publicly posting clips of themselves destroying their bodies with objects that have been produced for the sole purpose of effectively preparing them to take on even larger sizes. How do you, as a man, or how do you, as a woman who has not done these things, look at that as a conversation topic and think to yourself, I don't know what my partner will be into, but I can guarantee that I know I'm not into that. And will they have an expectation that I would be into that? Like, the pressure to be bigger is just as equal as the pressure to want bigger. Because there are women who have made it they've made it a competition. They've made it a competition. Bring me a homosexual male and a fucking straight woman who does the same shit as the women that I post in the TikTok, who are practicing fucking straddling on barrels in a barnyard. It goes past the point of, what are we talking about? What are we talking about? To, bro, I'm scared of you. Like, dead ass. What possesses a person? What possesses a person? What possesses a person? Bring it up for a second. What possesses a person to do this? I ask you, what possesses you to not only need to publish this, but to practice like this with reins? With reins! Like, number one, S plus effort. Number one, S plus effort for creativity and experimentation. I applaud you. I'm still scared of you and want you nowhere near my penis. Nowhere near my penis. Nowhere. 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 Because if this is what you do for practice, what do you do for technique? You do this for practice.
Hey, Carl.
Hello.
How was your day?
Niggotry. You actually jumped in the middle of the niggotry. And we will return to the niggotry. My Pitsigi.
Oh, can you stream the video, your screen and everything? Thank you.
So to answer the question, is there a pressure to be bigger? Yes. Is there a pressure for people to not only want bigger, but to expect bigger? Yes. Who's responsible? Horse. Horse.
There's something hilarious about that. Women always like to bring up boyfriend penis, but I'm like, to fuck with some dudes' egos, I've done this before. I'm like, okay, what is a good boyfriend penis size? And then they'll describe it, and then you just see the room get sad.
I can tell y'all for serious honesty, a good boyfriend penis size is 5 inches. It's 5 inches. It's not too big, it's not too small. The maximum for which you should actually be willing to go to is 9. Anything longer than 9 is not going inside of any cavity, unless that woman's got the throat like a Hoover.
Okay, I'm gonna be honest with you. It's not just like length, it's the girth thing, because like I've met some women and they're like, the most disturbing memories I have of some women is like just seeing their dildos and I'm like, God, that fits in you?
What did I just say? What did I just say, chat? What did I just say? We were just talking about this. I actually went on a small tangent about the fact that women have destroyed the expectation of the opposite sex and their sexual organ.
No, like, no, because it's like, when I can start slightly compare it to my arm, you know, like, you're doing a lot.
I mean, the problem is less that it's a lot and more like, because you're so used to taking larger, you're going to make me not only feel self-confident and self-conscious, but you're also going to make me question on if you actually use it, or if it's something that you just keep there as a method of weaponizing control over sex. Because realistically, the largest I would say a woman should probably take in circumference would maybe be 4 to 7 inches of girth. 4 to 7 inches of girth is at the point where if it is any wider, you will suffocate them. And again, if it's too long, what is she sucking? She's like sucking the first 5 inches? Like, I understand the dream for hentai girls, but you have to breathe. You do have to breathe. And there is nothing worse than a woman who is gagging to death. Because now I'm scared, you're scared. The medical professionals that are going to be examining the lining of your esophagus are going to be like, what did you swallow?
Oh, no, you know something actually funny? Like, a lot of dentists and throat specialists actually have, like, like protocols that they look for to understand if somebody actually like has had oral sex recently?
Yes, I'm aware.
Like it's becoming that common. They're like, oh yeah, we can look for these things, and we know.
You know what I used to do for work before I became a YouTuber? I know.
Yeah.
In many cases, I was that medical professional. Yes, they actively employed a sexual deviant and said, Carl, what does it look like? Well, it looks like he came all over the room. And how do you know that? Well, I can tell from the smear indent from where the line started, but he has to be at least 8 inches. And based on how much spittles around the room, she was probably gagging. Somewhere between that much length, sir. He also twists a little. He also twists a little bit to the left, so we're gonna want to get people who happen to have a particular bend in the penile structure.
I didn't feel pressure until today.
I think there's a lot of pressure to impress, and even a personal pressure and a confidence boost.
True. Yeah, it's a societal thing. I mean, like growing up, if there's not a lot of sex education in schools, so you learn a lot of stuff either from like porn or like other things like that. And basically, yeah, you shouldn't learn it. That's the goal of this video, but.
I mean, the thing that you learn from porn is what is possible, not things to emulate. A lot of the problem is that in the earliest parts of people using porn as sexual education, their sexual education became, Mom, Dad, I want to know what to do when I'm having sex, not, Mom, Dad, I learned a new interesting position that I can do to hit it from the side. Now, granted, you should not be learning your sex ed from porn, but you should definitely be taking tips from porn. You can take some cliff notes. But you shouldn't be taking it from professionally produced porn. No.
Yeah.
No. Not professionally produced porn.
Okay, also, guys, lifting women up may seem fun immediately, or cool idea. It's not feasible for long periods of time enough to actually have fun in that position.
You need to have a sex swing.
Stick with stuff. Exactly.
Like, gentlemen, if you can pick her up and you can be able to bench press her weight, wonderful. Absolutely nice. Do that too many times and you're throwing your back out. Get a sex swing. Or, learn to use vibrating surfaces. The laundry room ain't nothing but a few steps away. You can fill up the load while she's filling up the load.
I think, at least I'm from Israel, so it's very close-minded. We're not talking about sexuality or sex, so porn. And this is the #1 mistake, because porn is completely fake. It's very bad to compare yourself or look into porn to see what to do, how to do. It should be around communication with your partner, and yeah, all penises are gorgeous the way they are.
Has anyone done any sex work?
You know something funny about having a porn star on set for this? Porn stars are, so many of them are weirdos, and don't actually have game.
I mean, do you have to have game when you have signed a contract that says, yes, I will swallow this man's nut on camera?
Well, I mean, like, dudes, not the females.
Who do you think I was talking about?
Well, no, in your case, females, but...
I was talking about all.
Well, fair play. But I'm like, it's not like all do like they don't want to have sex or intimate relationships outside of the porn.
No, they're just fucking corny.
I realize. Yeah, they're just corny.
Because they do porn, yeah.
Put you next to me.
Hey, I was like, put you next to me. He's an acrobat over here. Alright, because of that, I'm gonna go into third, and I feel like you should be in second.
What does everyone else do?
I work in IT.
I'm an investor.
Well, you gotta have big.
You don't need a big dick to make money.
big risk.
I'm a nurse, so in all honesty, working in the hospital, you have to like clean them and everything. I've seen a lot of penises. Everybody's about the same like size.
Because you've seen so many dicks, where do you feel like you fall in the spectrum of penises?
You don't see them erect, so technically, I can still be wrong. But I would put myself maybe at like a little bit like bigger than.
Okay.
But like
So
not
exactly
like a
around.
lot. Yeah.
So you said, what do we do? Like, what do the rest of you guys do? I'm a chef. I own a skateboard.
Who was that?
I mean, someone taking this L, and I don't mind taking it right now.
I mean, it's I'm Asian and I'm half Asian, so it's understandable if you guys think something about it.
Where y'all want me? Just let me know now.
Number 3.
I say 3.
Three?
Oh, yeah, 3, 4.
Number 2.
Does anyone feel like they don't belong where they are?
Yeah, I think you're confident.
Just
I think
think
I'm
about it.
I think I'm number 2.
I agree with that. I like that.
That's look good.
I really feel like he's doing it for a bit.
I think this.
Yeah, I like this. I like this.
You locking it in?
Yeah, we're locking it in.
Okay.
The thing is, I know where this video goes, and it kind of feels like it at the end.
All right.
Don't spoil anything.
Okay.
Only last couple seconds. You all right?
Okay.
Oh man.
He said awesome.
I would be weirded out if he. I don't know how I feel about that.
What was y'all doing to get them hard?
Yeah, I'm saying, like, this is weird.
Where's this room? Where did you take him?
Like, can I just have it? Like, can I just, go into the bathroom, have 5 minutes with some, like, Maya Khalifa, like, clips, please?
No. The guy who's measuring is going to have to put on a glove, jerk you off, and then measure as you're at half mast and full mast.
If y'all really wanted clips for this, you should have brought in a hot nurse.
Yeah.
Hey, hot nurse. Come on, these guys know their audience. They don't care about women.
So, 7th, Andy.
Especially for the guys, solely for the guys.
6th, Asher.
Number 2, I told you.
5th, Baron. 4th, Giovanni.
Come on.
3rd, Tanner. 2nd, David. First,
Really
Jesse.
That kind of makes sense.
Starting with Andy, can you share your soft length size?
2.5.
3.2.
3.5. 4. Also 4. 4.5. 4.5.
I'm just, my man over here, I'm just highly impressed right now.
I'm not gonna lie, I kind of saw that coming.
I think this is just genetics. Then again, some of these might be growers and showers.
That's because he's tall, man. I was thinking.
All right, we're going to move on to what we've all been waiting for, hard length sizes. In 7th, Andy. In 6th, Baron.
I told you.
In 5th, David.
I told you.
Oh.
In 4th, Asher.
NBC.
In 3rd, Giovanni. In 2nd, Tanner. And in 1st, Jesse.
But we knew this.
It was wrong just about you. The rest was exactly.
Mr. Big Dick Energy.
Andy, can you start with your hard length size?
4.8.
We are going to hand you a cucumber that is cut to your size.
Nice.
You hold it up.
A beautiful
6. That's me. 6. 6.3. Nice and thick. Little sword. Cucumber. 6.5.
Wow.
7.
Good God.
Yeah. 1.
8.
Baby.
Carl remains correct. Carl remains correct.
Okay.
I'm telling you, physiognomy, it always works. It's always true.
Especially Elni Islamic.
So he's got that natural lead energy. He's got that charisma. He's the man that everyone gravitates towards. He had that like you saw him before when he was just dictating the conversation. We all know it to be true.
They just allowed it to happen. He just accepted it.
And let's do a quick circumference size rearrangement.
Lord have mercy.
Jesus. Man is walking around with the sweet potato for a penis.
Man has a fucking Italian-styled fucking bratwurst hot link.
Big dick is a curse as well, don't forget it.
He's not wrong. You're talking about the boyfriend pics?
Do you guys feel like talking about size so openly has maybe relieved some pressure or taboo surrounding the subject?
Yeah, because
With men? Talking about the subject around other men? You can't have this conversation with women present.
it's dumb. It's like, just talking about it, it's like clearly no one actually cares. Like, I mean, and if there is any kind of actual care, like, it's like we all know it doesn't matter.
Amongst men. Women care immensely.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like if you could talk to men about this until the sun goes down, but friggin' like there's a reason why men will lie about their size as much as they can get away with women, to the point where, like, if you ask a woman how big 8 inches is, they don't know, and the reason they don't know is because they don't know. It's because they've been lied to constantly about it, because obviously women don't need 8 inches to be satisfied. It's not the 8 inches that's the issue. It's the idea of the 8 inches. It's the idea.
And we also have like there's two more bigger factors in like penis in female satisfaction that need to get talked about. Like we got one, it's girth that gets talked about more, and also just like how long dudes last. Like you if you could fix or like do something to help with those two things in any way in the bedroom, you're going to have a very a happier sex life. Those are far more important than actual like, oh my dick is huge.
There's no point of having a man with a large penis if he does not know how to use it. It's functionally useless.
You know something funny? I remember listening to some woman like describe how she got into the relationship with her out of her ex and with her current husband. Like this was years ago, and she basically just said, "Man, if only he would be like it was like he was a dick during sex, and kind of selfish, and also just kind of a dick in real life." And I'm like, so the like not to shame the other dude, but it was really just because. Yeah, oh yeah, he has a big penis, but he fucks like he's like she's gonna not gonna feel it at all. And then she was also like just an ass in life, which is a lot of dudes. Like hilarious enough.
True. Now, for another different kind of video that we haven't yet actually watched on the channel. Most people should be aware with Not So Erudite if they know anything about people who are frequently talking to people like that of Short Back Otaku, or Stardust, of which these two clips include. However, Not So Erudite is a person who specializes in these kinds of heated debate subjects, and one of the ones that she was recently on 6 days ago was one about how the left has failed young men. We watched multiple videos from FD Signifier, with him effectively saying how we have allowed the right wing to fail the men. So now it's time for us to hear the perspective of people discussing the left.
Nobody knew Andrew Tate until like a year and a half ago, dog. I think this weird thing happens throughout culture where we smuggle all this random into masculinity, and it's basically just everything that's good about being a person.
Speak from your chest. Stop lying all the time. Just be honest. I don't think Andrew Tate cares about men. He's realized that there's a lot of young, disenfranchised men who want to have their feelings heard, and he capitalized on it. No, if you think that Bernie Sanders is more relevant in social culture than Tate, you're delusional. So I think that there's a really big issue on the left in that they really don't understand the red pill, and they really don't understand what is appealing to young men about it. And to be honest, I'm not hearing many people give like super good answers. Hey, do you like the show? Do you want more armpits? Well, be sure to follow me on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, TikTok. Be in my walls for all I care.
Right now we're talking about masculinity and whether the left has abandoned it, which I think is a really interesting topic. But please go ahead.
I want to make the argument that the right has also abandoned masculinity, or at least modern masculinity. Yeah, modern masculinity. I can understand that, but you still have like Andrew Tate and that kind of stuff, and yeah.
Am I gonna need a notepad for this one? I think I'm gonna need a notepad for this one.
Or at least modern, really interesting topic. But please go ahead. Anyone.
I want to make the argument that the right has also abandoned masculinity, or at least modern masculinity. Yeah, modern masculinity. I can understand that, but you still have like Andrew Tate and that kind of stuff, and yeah, but it's an archaic. I'm thinking whatever. But they have something. Women are ooga booga. I need to hit this woman over the head.
This is way too fast.
We agree.
This is too fast to keep track of it. Like I would go to, what is it on now? 2?
No, it's on 7.5.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah. Wow.
You gotta think faster, bro. You gotta think faster.
All right.
That's why I'm whipping out the notepad. Away goes Path of Exile. Up comes the thumbnail. Let's hear that dumbass argument again.
We agree. And whether the left has abandoned it, which I think is a really interesting topic. But please go ahead. Anyone?
I want to make the argument that the right has also abandoned masculinity, or at least modern masculinity. Yeah, modern masculinity. I can understand that, but you still have like the annotates and that kind of stuff. And it's an archaic. I'm thinking in whatever. But they have where generally women are ooga booga. I need to hit this woman over the head and make a relationship. It's forces this woman among we agree. Things.
That's so, wow. Like we got how like fast is like 1 minute or something into the video, and then we heard that bullshit. Like I was about to agree with him, like yeah, well, like the right has failed masculinity too, but then he went, oh yeah, unga bunga, hit woman over the head, they bring her back to the cave type bullshit. I'm like, that's so disingenuous. Like they don't get why the right failed masculinity. The right failed masculinity where they allowed spaces that were supposed to be fair and male as well and female, like be balanced, become purely female, and then they punish men for disrupting stability. That's the biggest thing about like the right. The right is pro-tradition, which are basically pseudo principles, and stability. That's what they're supposed to be.
I wouldn't say that the right failed masculinity. I would say that the right failed to protect the developing young men. Because when we say that the right failed masculinity, you're defending the framework of a concept. When the issue is, how did the left fail young men? So, when he says, the left has failed young men, but the right has also abandoned and failed modern masculinity. What is masculinity in this framework?
Well, for him, it's unga bunga. Okay. Well, no, I think he's probably going to say something feminist related.
So I'll ask you, what is masculinity outside of a framework of modernity?
Well, masculinity tends to best way to put this, because I'm trying to pick a universal standard without all the social aspects of it from all across the world. It tends to be a competitive and high energy drive for leadership and independence.
Even smaller. Go even smaller.
Smaller than that.
Masculinity is blank.
Masculine?
You just said it. Masculinity is leadership and independence.
Leadership. Yeah, okay. Oh, leadership. Oh, that's what you meant? You said small. I thought you meant like hone in on something a little bit more.
So, let's go work from that framework, right? Remember, guys, semiotics, a word hold to understanding and expressions. The left has failed young men, but the right have abandoned modern masculinity. Masculinity is leadership and independence. Therefore, what happens when I affix modernity to masculinity? What does that become? If masculinity is being a man and doing your responsibilities and also taking care of society so it doesn't degrade, if modern masculinity is being used to compare to masculinity, what does that mean modern masculinity is?
Let's see if the chat figures it out. I actually get what you're going here with this.
See if the chat room figures it out.
My phone is being slow, so I can't get to YouTube video.
Anyone? Mariner says femboy. He's not actually wrong. It's about 75% of the way to the correct answer. There are multiple answers to this. However, there is a universal answer that it all centers around. Anyone else? Lack of leadership? That's about 85% to the correct answer. It's not a lack of leadership, it's something else. Castrated male, 95% of the way to the answer. Lack of independence, about 75% of the way to the answer. Take castrated male and combine it with lack of independence. Reliance on government? No. I mean, there is a reliance on government, but it's not reliance on government. Simp. Ironically, that's about like 99% of the way there. Slave? Close. Slave to who? Women. Correct. Correct. Alex and Mariner both arrived at the same time. You get an apple. Simping for women. Absolutely. Thank you. If masculinity is men doing what men serve their purpose and role in society to do, which is to be leaders, teachers, instructors. Why does my camera keep going out of focus? Camera, focus. That actually worked. Wow. If men's role in society is to be leaders, instructors, teachers, and protectors, modern masculinity is where men have taken a back seat and allowed women to lead or to have equal power in leadership. And if the left have abandoned young men, who did they abandon them for? Women. And teaching young boys to respect women. Which means the left have abandoned young men in favor for gynocentrism and propaganda. Because...
So... No, go ahead, keep finish.
Because if they had men in their structure and they understood the role of what men and women are supposed to do, they are not opposites, they are equals, and they are two halves of a whole, there would be no reason to have a discussion about why did the left leave young men, because they don't value them. They see them as tools, not as people. They see them as threats and weapons, not individuals. They exist as a monolith until they know the particular name of a single person. They are not scared of SinglePlayerCarl. They're scared of the audience of SinglePlayerCarl. They're not scared of incels. They're scared of dangerous terrorists like Elliot Rodger. They're scared of a concept, but can't see the people who they associate with the concept. Because those people had lives, they had understandings, they had backgrounds. There were things that happened in their life that pushed them towards a catastrophic end, or pushed them towards nothing at all. When you say, the left has abandoned young men, but then you respond with, but the right has abandoned modern masculinity, because Andrew Tate and Unga Bunga bring women back to cave and abuse and rape them. You're crazy. Where does that happen in society? When was the last time you saw a man walk up to a woman and say, I like you, smash her over the head with a Bud Light, and drag her back to the house?
Well, the thing is, that happens in society, but we can't act like, oh, there's plenty of people in society that try to punish and root out that behavior.
I mean, if that happened in normal society, those people would be openly mocked by men and women. And they know this. So when they say, oh, well, we don't treat for this, we don't scour for this, we don't scout for this, that's a lie. Yes, we do. We do it frequently. Quite literally, we all have access to Twitter. We all see it publicly. Literally last night, and probably still later on today, depending on whether or not Movie Bob gets the fuck over himself. I mock Movie Bob for demonstrating that behavior, as he then goes on to rant about how actually, it's good that Akira potentially gets made by Taika Waititi. I want all of your favorite fanboy shit to be fucking destroyed and decimated by the likes of Hollywood for clout, because I don't like you. A person who has actively not grown past being dunked in the toilet in high school gets angry at the world. So, when I made the tweet, hold up the tweet. When I made the tweet, that Movie Bob is still upset that he does not get to have Lindsay Ellis' coaching, he gets angry and says, oop, stop, this.
anime. Not even once. Not even once. Because Movie Bob Chipman, gets upset and says, Japs keep moving, this is a white man's neighborhood, when he doesn't get Lindsay Ellis' hand in marriage. And this was a reaction to a particular tweet thread that he sent. The tweet thread that goes something like this. It's over. Not only do I hope Taika Waititi makes Akira, I hope he makes every anime thing just to piss you all off. I hope he does Dragon Ball and Naruto and One Punch Man and Miyazaki's solemn tweet naturalist stuff and the hero school thing, and that you're all just miserable about it. No, but for real though, it rules that one of the better creative voices is when a director is fucking his co-stars while he's filming something for Marvel. Better fucking creative voices in recent mainstream film is now a wine signal for weird nerds to do a performative snobbery because they're still mad that there are jokes in a space Viking movie. Oh no, the one actual good movie in Western anime fans accidentally watched getting their "Yar, cartoons ain't just for kids, you know. He's got guns and titties and kissing in montage, and yo, fix in the mid-90s might be irrevocably sullied. Well, I'm just so as a vulgar Kiwi doesn't lay his hands on my other most cherished peak anime of the era.
Todd McFarlane's HBO Spawn, complete, uncut, and unrated, Extreme Edition, Volume number 2 and 3, double VHS collector's set.
A classic form of the art, you know.
I'm totally not mad, guys.
I do love how, for someone who talks about internet snobbery, he could not have sounded more like a snob in these tweets. Like, this is someone who absolutely despises the very people who he's talking about, yet claims to be talking about people who, while talking about people who have legitimate grievances, while trying to dismiss those grievances.
He got extremely ratioed for that, and the ratio continues growing. Both on the original post and every other post he talks about. Go ahead.
I just need to point this out, that Movie Bob, and not just Movie Bob, the leftist ilk of his leftist ilk, like them in general, they can't fathom something being outside of a social... They can't fathom media not being good when it's being poisoned, basically. Like, if it's getting poisoned, if they have the social contagion of neoliberal ideas, they always get happy when something gets poisoned and they feel it's inherent to the artistic process, because the way they view media is that it always needs to be some form of propaganda. Because, like, perfect example with like how modern sensibilities, especially in Hollywood, are weird is that the Mario movie. If you've heard anything from everybody, they were like Japan execs saw what the movie was and were like, "What the fuck? No, dial all that girl boss shit back, and then make a movie that could be enjoyed and pays respect to not only boys and also girls, because Peach isn't a damsel in that movie, but in Mario, is it like a Mary Sue or like Super Great or whatever like that? It's very balanced of a movie, and when you realize that critics hated it, and I'm like, why? What about it made you hate? When you realize that nothing can escape the sabotage, and if it doesn't comply, it's inherently less artistically valuable. Like, it's the same reason why architecture is fucking awful.
Was that the end of your sentence? You just stopped talking.
Well, yeah, no, something happened, my bad. The same reason why architecture is fundamentally awful in modern days, because it's meant to deconstruct what we enjoy naturally as people and what we should value as people, and then finger wave at people for liking the things or striving for the things we like naturally. It's like justice with social justice, or justice with restorative justice. There has to be something a little to it so that they can slowly claw away at the principle of something, at the root of it. And that's where they get their enjoyment from it. It is spite the ideology.
Do you have anything you wanted to add to that, Halfling? Yes, no, maybe so.
Did he walk away?
Not for the time being, no. I think you've added up quite succinctly, to be honest.
My personal opinion about it usually tends to be the case of, it is, and for anybody who's wondering, yes, when they go on to interludes, I start playing Path of Exile, because I don't want to interrupt them. When there's an issue with Movie Bob, people like Movie Bob have not accepted that their particular brand of pop culture psych and the proliferation of pop culture psych for the purposes of having a personality, specifically based on, am I the dominant culture of consumption? It is one. His ideology, his way of thinking, his way of being, his way of experiencing anything to do with content has won, and he's still not happy. He can't be happy because he's not fully winning, because not everybody's miserable. He doesn't care that, hey, the thing I like is being made. He doesn't care, hey, the thing I like is getting work. It's getting movies made. It's getting content made. He's specifically solely focused on, I hate you and I hate anime. So I want to take this person who will do something that will annoy you and I will signal boost it. Because fuck you. Have you ever experienced such an unfun person in your life that specifically gets a joy and a kick off of something so ridiculously dumb? I know I have.
Simp for the BBC.
I mean, it's worse than just simping for the BBC, right? Because there is another line of tweets that he made. Because, of course, Movie Bob always has these wonderful takes. He made a series of tweets where he effectively was shilling for censorship. This particular line of tweets was about how media companies had a straight line to the FBI, where they were reporting to agents about what was happening on the platform and about their ability to control it. His take was something along the lines of, and somebody can find it because I know I retweeted it, and I made a quote tweet about it, was that, oh, why would you even care about the fucking, why do you even care about it? You don't even know whether it's happening. Why would you be so concerned with the censorship? And it's the same concern of, you know, attention-seeking and concern trolling, or sea-lining, that any person could do about these topics and subjects, especially like that of young men. It's really the same framework, actually. Just replace video games and anime with young men. Why do you care that young men are being abused? Don't you know that women have been abused all in existence? It's normal for there to be some pushback. I died. It's normal for there to be some pushback. It should be expected.
That's actually pretty hilarious because there's always an ideological through line for everything. There's the reason why principles are so important. Because when you can just put a different situation and their behavior gets a little wonky, you're like, you can tell now, can't you?
Well, think about it. You think about it in the form of a different scenario. Let's take like nonsense Catholic Church, right? It's like what, like on one side of it, it's like this is why Christianity is not taken even remotely seriously in the modern day. It's because the Catholic Church has made it quite serious, made it quite clear that they're not going to take pedophilia within their ranks seriously, and that puts people off, and rightly so. But on the flip side, there's also the like people who already hate Christians to begin with will already will use this as a cudgel to beat over the head of Christians. And you might say, oh, that's great, but then you bring up the comparative rates of pedophilia and say among school teachers, and how that isn't taken nearly as seriously as it should be either. And suddenly they get all very meek about it because unlike the Catholic Church, which is kind of a cultural institution which they don't like, education is a state institution which they can use to indoctrinate people. So suddenly they don't want to talk about it so much. It's very much.
No, I'm agreeing with you. What I was about to just tag on was that it's the same factor. It's the same mentality of they understand why Christians do what they do and why the church did what they do, because it doesn't want to tarnish its reputation or succeed authority by letting itself being under scrutiny. Same reason why teacher unions and everything refuse to play ball with a lot of politicians in actual debates about certain subjects.
Realistically, it's the situation of those priests in school are just abusing these children and boys. They are not safe amongst them. Like, they're better safe with the people who happen to be teaching them education. Yes, and what was the sexual orientation of those priests? Oh, they were gay? Damn. So, by that logic, they're not safe with anybody who happens to be gay, huh? It's a very strange self-report. It usually goes one way.
You know the fucked up thing about the whole church thing? Like, the church thing seems a lot worse in hindsight, especially for the Catholic Church, because it was years and years of abuse coming out all at once. While, like, per capita, I think schools are, like, significantly worse on that front. Like, there's more abuse going on in schools than in any church, like, consistently.
Particularly, but at the same time, it can vary based on situations. Now the issue is not even most of the times even religious in origin. It's particularly school based in origin. So we all remember the dumbass who demanded and challenged me to a live supposedly because he couldn't understand the line that I was drawing between his inability of understanding why Pikami's career being ended by people harassing her about Hogwarts Legacy was a travesty, and why that compared to his dumbass opinion about the show Friends. It's a very simple through line, right? Friends was made in the 90s. Something with 90s sensibilities does not match the sensibilities of today. To get angry and claim that Friends is transphobic when the concept of transgenderism was merely a niche subgenre, to the point that it was the butt of multiple jokes of the time period, reflects the pearl-clutching modern sensibility of somebody who's out of touch. A person who then is so out of touch that they don't even read the bill that they are throwing a fucking pissy fit about, to try and use it as a cudgel to bash over someone's head about how much they care about trans politics. You care so much about this girl's career, but actual things are happening in the world. You don't understand what the problem is. Anybody remember Desmond Maples? I know it's been a while since that episode of Digital Blackface, but does anybody remember Desmond Maples? Otherwise known as Letitia, the trans boy drag queen. Or I should rather just say the drag queen boy.
Yeah, I remember.
Oh, wait, Desmond. Desmond is amazing, right?
Yes. Desmond Maples is an example of what happens when you allow young children to go to an abject area of pure illicit matter, a boy being brought to a drag show, or more specifically, you want to be honest, a strip club, a gentleman's club, a boudoir, vaudeville, particularly the cabaret, and you teach him, through socialization habits, how to act like a gay man. Effectively, being hypersexual, being outspoken and loud, politically centered, and addicted to drugs. He was surrounded by pedophiles. Unironic pedophiles. Not, oh, they seem the type. They were registered sex offenders.
No.
Registered sex offenders. Registered sex offenders. Appearing nude next to a boy. Doing drugs around a boy. And that boy being put in that environment by his political dance stage mother. Because much like a vegan cat, when it comes to trans kids, we know who's making the decisions in that situation. So the bills that were designed in Tennessee were designed to do one, keep kids out of the drag shows, because the drag shows are happening at strip clubs. Legal business operations. You want to have legal business operations where you have homosexual and heterosexual activities such as lap dances and strip teases? By all means, have fun, but don't bring your child there. And at the same time, children, if you decide that you want to do something extremely risky to your body, like as a young girl, cut off both of your healthy breast tissue and instead replace it with scars that will never properly fully heal, and when they do, will be a resembling mark of the thing you did to yourself. And boys, if you want to give yourself a physical gash and wound that will never heal properly, that you will never allow to heal properly, because you're going to stick a silicone, or more often what they did in the early days, metal dilator inside your body to simulate a vaginal crevice. We're going to make a bill that says you can't do that until you're of age. What was that fucking YouTuber's name? Ella something. Does anybody else remember the transgender male to female named Ella? I forget her last name. But a person who particularly made a thing of the meme of, I haven't gotten the schnip yet, and they would do that real close
wait, no, because she, I know what you're talking about, because she would do the little 80s, like 60s housewife thing.
Yes.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. What about her? Because, like, what are you going to say about that? I know what you're talking about.
She didn't get the SIP until she was legal.
Yeah.
The usual talking point about this is, well, their kids can't get the surgery and once they're legal, because then they'll be through puberty. And what's the problem with that? More than likely, what will happen with these children will realize, actually, I'm not trans. I think I'm gay. And what's wrong with them having a gay lifestyle? Because you use them as political tools.
The funny thing about that is even worse, is because you can see the upcropping of a lot of women, especially women, saying, with all the dysphoria I was going through as growing up young as a young woman, that I would have been diagnosed as a boy if I was living in this time. But they're like, as I got older, I understood my femininity and grew into it. That happens a lot. And then you also have, like, not just Desmond is amazing. Jazz. You know the celebrity that was on the TV show?
That news has already been covered in the news cycle, yes.
That's, like, people said, oh, no, because they wanted to act like people were bigots, but they said they're not going to actually be happy about this decision, especially when you realize it's the mother, and also this is a situation because it's obviously the father takes orders from the mother because she ran that entire household in situation, was leading her son into transition. That is a issue, because when you realize that, oh, Jazz isn't happy now, Jazz is having issues, what are you going to say? This was their poster trans girl.
Well, they're not going to say anything. They're just going to get angry at the news and then insist and clutch their pearls that you would even subsist on such a topic. Why would you do that? Only an evil person would do that, and as we all witnessed if you actually watched that TikTok, and the resulting TikTok that they sent afterwards, that's exactly what they did. How dare you bring up this news? You ran away from a debate! No, I didn't. I was busy doing other shit. And on top of doing other shit, I pay attention. The same way I paid attention to that. Because the narrative of the Tennessee bill is these bills are going to stop trans kids from existing. Yeah, I imagine it would. Because if a person's not being groomed into a social construct, they're not going to constantly represent that social construct. They're going to be normal. Or as close as normal as can be. Which is the job of the parent. So if the child is as normal as can be, and they're not being preyed upon to be part of a social construct, they're going to learn what they are and are not. What they are not is a political tool, and they should never be used as a political tool, which is why the Tennessee bill was written that way. The first bill says you can't have kids at drag shows. The second bill says that you cannot be able to make medical decisions for a child until they are of age, and you will not push them into doing so as of age. Thus protecting, one, the child, and two, the medical professional who will have to deny the surgery, because they will then be claimed that they are being harassative and also being accusatory, and more importantly, the very dangerous word, that they're being discriminatory against a minority figure. Because, don't you know, trans people are a minority status. Therefore, we must give the minority power by giving them the ability to basically destroy your livelihood, destroy your career, and have you slandered and smeared from medical institutions because you didn't want to cut a girl's breasts off and you didn't want to cut a guy's dick off.
What was it? Young Ripper. he just had a stream about this, where some trans influencers were like, oh well, double vasectomies like bring up all the bullshit, and because you know how Young Griffith is, he's very clear and concise about what he talks about. He's very clear and concise about what he believes, and they were like, he was dealing with this trans VTuber, whatever, and they were like, oh man, but like boobs get cut off all the time when you get like cancer or whatever, and then Young Griffith just pauses the video and just like shakes it, because that's the argumentation we're dealing with. Because they try to normalize it by like pointing out like, oh yeah, this happens, so what we're doing is okay.
Because there's a fire somewhere in Canada.
Be damned.
Like, because there's a fire somewhere in Canada, that justifies the reason that I should be able to stab you in the chest. Because you see, things happen, and I need your TV. Don't ask questions, just give it to me. What are you, a racist bigot? Yeah, it's very annoying.
No, that's literally, it's because racism, I need your wallet. That's literally the logic going on. There's a through line somewhere.
It's a bit disgusting at the end of the day when you really think about how they go about that reasoning. Because they never really take accountability for how they choose to go about that reasoning. They just say things, they do things, and then when you ask them, how did you arrive at that answer? How did you arrive at that question? Why would you even think such a thing? There's no reason. They just decided. They decided. They decided they were going to do that. They just made it up, decided on the moment to continue making it up, and then after making it up, you ask yourself, well, why would that make sense? Why would you even think that's a thing to say? And then they do that thing. And at that point, you just get exasperated and tired. Which is exactly why Eric July's position has been, no, leave kids the fuck alone. Which is, it should be everybody's position. When you start doing things around children that makes you a question, the only important pronouns that exist for you was and were. Because there will be something that comes for you. I'm not saying that somebody should do that, but I would not be surprised if they did. And I'm also not going to feel sorry if something happens because of it.
I was having success with my friend. They were like, oh, but bro, taking them to a trans show, like the students, is just like taking them to see 40 Shades of Grey. I'm like, okay, both are very, very different, and neither is okay. But that's just legal. Like, a parent can do that. I'm like, no, that's not okay in any situation. You're not being pro-trans. You're actually hurting the community.
It'd be
And the thing is,
terrifying.
I know it's different because I am a victim of abuse. So I'm like, there's an actual structural difference. Thing is, because that behavior is categorized as abuse, because there's a reason why we bring up our incestuous relations of moms grooming their sons in certain ways. We bring up that dads showing openly sexual things, like having porn around their daughters and everything, is a form of grooming and incest. Like, there's a lot of forms of incest like that. And we understand that psychologically it's a form of incest, predation, grooming. We understand this in literally every other context. As soon as it becomes trans and the way we define identifying and everything like that, we can't talk like that anymore.
I think it's bullshit. Because people know that they can use trans as a thought-terminating cliche, which is what makes any and all conversations about it moot and inert. There's no way I can have a serious conversation about this if a person's willing to go for that, because every single time they can reach for it, they know that they don't have to try any further. They don't have to think any further, they don't have to try any further, they don't have to explain any further. If you fight me on this, you're a bigot. That's it. That's all there can be.
Honestly, I hated that line of thinking, and I hated getting misconstrued. The line of thinking, like, that's personally why I stopped using the word phrase SJW. Like, in high school, I realized I'm like, SJW is like, it boils down the point, and you assume that, and I have a point to make, so I'll just explain my point and just get all my thoughts out and explain each and every detail of it painfully if I need to, because I refuse to let you think, we're just gonna boil down this conversation to a catchphrase, a buzzword.
Well, it's not even just using the idea as a thought catchphrase or buzzword. The thought-terminating cliche is, I have decided that this is the solution, that there could be no other interpretation. And not only is there no other interpretation, I have decided that because there is no other interpretation, you are not allowed to have any position of verity.
You're not allowed to have any position of parity. You're not allowed to have any position of understanding. And I will not consider for any amount of moment if what I say and do makes me look like an asshole. Because what possibly could you have to say that could demonstrate this? And you know I have a perfect example, because that's exactly what I was using him for today. Just a round of applause for fucking Movie Bob for giving me a perfect case example to use for content today. Because, of course, the people that were... The thing that's actually most important when dealing with dumbass lolcows isn't the lolcow themselves. It's the people who then use the lolcow to justify their position. And how fun it makes it. So, perfect case example is this interaction here. That, of course, extended from the abuse that I received from Movie Bob. This person sees the tweet from Movie Bob and says, I kind of see that guy might be mute-worthy from his handle alone. I doubt that it's short for Nigella Popsicle. No, it's short for Nixicle. The nigga icicle. I was freezing. I was cold. How'd you know? How'd you know? Because it was an animation.
I was gonna stream yesterday, but you know, this was the feeling yesterday. It was way too cold yesterday. Entirely too cold. My fucking ceiling was freezing. Because
you want to talk about freezing? Really? You want to talk about freezing?
Nigga, you live in Georgia. I don't want to hear anything you have to say.
Bitch, I can't trust my weather forecast, okay? Also, the worst thing you have to look out for is the anomalous polar vortex niggas that are screaming MAGA country, alright? That's all you have to worry about. Some motherfucker decided to go racing last night and ran his car or motorcycle off the road and hit a fucking pole down the street. I lost my power for 3 hours.
I remember when this happened.
Sleep.
Okay.
Sitting there in the cold, shivering like a little nigger, playing fucking video games, saying, God damn it, I'm so mad. Also, hi everybody.
You were cold as a nixicle. A nixicle.
Fellas, is it mute-worthy to assault a comedian for accepting a moniker given to him by somebody of the same ethnic background because they're both African Americans? Apparently, yes, it is. And of course, I did indeed call them out for this. That framework, other debate tactic. You're a Republican. This is actually even worse, because this was another thing that he did. Let's go to that real quick, because I know it's right here. In Movie Bob's mindset, you're not a serious person or a person who should be listened to if you don't have a picture of your own face on the internet to dox yourself and what you look like so that it can compare you at a distance on social media. Because any person who doesn't have a picture of themselves is clearly just an anime profile picture. But because the Ultra Instinct Vegeta made fun of me on Twitter, you clearly must be a Republican. Because everything is a Republican when I don't like it, and everyone's a conservative if I don't like them. Ergo, you're a Republican, so clearly you don't care about young boys, you only care about the demographics. You are clearly a fucking alt-right Nazi, so you don't actually care about things like civility and society. Only I, the probably well-reformed adult person, knows what the fuck I'm talking about. It's very dumb.
But Carl, it's obvious that you are a Republican. You're very, very, very sensible. That's what a Republican is. Sensible. Because that's what they say whenever they make the point. Like, you're doing all this. Republican. Stop giving them that credit.
An African American being a sensible Republican with a moderately sized penis. Truly. Truly. We're only a minute and 47 in, and that's how much content we can rip out of this, guys. Never question the power of Carl.
We agree. It's stupid.
We've evolved past this, and when we look at colleges and we look at like the dynamic differences between men and women,
Look, we are
men,
both,
men or women are different.
We are both on the left.
I think they both deserve the equal chance of a job.
We are both on the left. We agree. It's not Ooga Booga, right?
If you guys want, I'll fight you guys on the Ooga Booga if you want.
No, but it's not about the Ooga Booga. We agree, but we need to have like a responsible answer on what it is then, right? So
what does a man on the left look like?
Yeah,
we admire
exactly.
him like be an upstanding citizen in the left community.
Except Nick.
Because that's what we really want. Because like back in the days we had like Victorian and Edwardian, gentleman culture.
What does the left mean for us?
We had like antiquity. They had like.
But Victorian was sexist.
And even back then, like honor culture, like saving face.
Before we can go into what a man looks like on the left, can you guys help me understand what the left means?
What a wonderful, great question. Yes, what does the left mean to you? What does it mean to be a man on the left? We know what it means to be a man on the left. Or rather, let's not even say that. Let's not even do that. We know what it looks like performatively when they say we are men on the left. But what does it look like cerebrally? What does it look like cerebrally? What does it look like in thought? What is the school of thought of a man on the left? I don't care about your performative actions. Dude. What does it look like and think like?
Dude.
Yes.
We already know, because they brought up Victorian. I'm like, Victorian era was actually incredibly sexist. They were just benevolent sexist at most.
Yes, they were men and women who saved face and had very backwards ideas about what society should be because they were about appearances. So, by that, I would then go to being a man on the left means being about appearances, but having deeply concerning personal beliefs that you keep hidden from public society, which is pretty fucking accurate.
Yeah, no, you wanna know how amazing it is as a subject? Because like Frankenstein's the Frankenstein story is literally written like that. She basically wrote the monster and the doctor, and constantly pointed out the fact that how men acted in her day and age.
Your eyes sharp. Cool winds.
Mary Shelley, you mean? Moon?
What?
Mary Shelley,
sorry.
you mean?
No, that was like she. Yeah, that's what I said. No, because if you ever read the story, it points out that the men are like, oh, whoa, this is so bad. A woman should have to deal with this, and then the woman's the only person bring out the good ideas, and like that's one of like oldest feminist media we have, and it kind of points out the issue with Victorian era stuff.
I suppose, but that's an element of the society, and there's no way to change that from the outside in without having a way to view that from that angle, which is what makes it important that it was done. But then how many people are willing to actually do that on the larger scale, which is the issue when you're talking about critique of a society. For Mary Shelley, it is a book trying to do the thing that a lot of people like to be really obtuse about on Twitter. You don't understand how to read media literacy. You don't understand that these tropes are a thing. And it's like, you don't understand how to apply the tropes or use them correctly. For a person who doesn't understand the difference between Metal Gear Solid, a person using clips that come from things like Final Fantasy VII, and someone using the Family Guy clip with Trump painted orange, they don't understand what that's supposed to be. They don't go for that. They usually go for the lowest common denominator, bottom of the barrel bullshit. And it usually suffers for it.
Yeah, that's true.
Moving on. That is not what I wanted.
That person I would say like falls like in a socialist like liberal side of a spectrum. If you,
But what does that look like? What does that look like? Give me some characteristics of the ideal leftist man.
Well, sorry, really quickly, before we go to a leftist man, I really want to know what left means in this context, right? So we don't mean Democrats, but we're talking about lefties. That specifically?
No, we're talking about.
I don't know. That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Left of the spectrum.
Okay. So just so not a conservative, basically.
So left of center.
Left of center would basically mean lefties, or it would mean far left. Because when people say left of center, they don't mean left of center. They mean left-leaning. And left-leaning to them, in the mind of a person who would be associated with that side of the spectrum, don't mean left-leaning of left of center. They mean, we agree that Orange Man bad, and therefore.
We're thinking maybe like have.
I mean, left of center, a role model.
Right, this is the ideological shit, so this is kind of my wheelhouse. If we're speaking honestly on the like political spectrum, like in the West, left of center, like what comes left of the center in the Western world is progressive neoliberals, social liberals, social democrats, socialists, and communists. Those are the ideological positions that sit left of the center.
Which one's the commie? One's already mentioned they're socialist. Which one's the commie?
Are we talking about role models still?
Yes, but I want to
our left center role model can be Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Okay, and describe him.
A loudmouth intellectual blowhard who likes to go on pedantic rants and use his intellectualism as a methodology to dismiss the opinions of people he believes are underneath him and gain social power through social relevance with people who will platform him and his sensibilities. So a grifter. The modern peak pale example of a leftist male that is left of center is a political grifter who has the intelligence of a midwit, or has a perceived notion of being intellectual, but ultimately on every other topic that is not their career profession, is a midwit. A leftist is a socially preening, forward-presenting midwit. Am I off?
You're not.
I don't think I'm off here.
You're not, like, at all.
What are those characteristics that make that left center man actually admirable? Like,
Smart, pretty liberal. I don't know. It just seems like a good role model for the left. He like sides on left.
Forward-facing, preening fucking grifter. What the fuck?
Policies with Democrats and stuff like that.
This is the problem.
What's the problems with that?
What is a man?
So he doesn't.
And he'll tell you what it looks like, what it sounds like, and what the results of being a man is.
Okay, so can you give me one person that's a role model on the right that you could describe why the role model on the right there is a good role model? Could you do that?
Eric July.
George Washington.
Washington Carver.
Booker T. Washington.
Corn Pop.
Actually, what would Booker T be qualified as right wing? Because he's not what you would classify as a leftist.
By the social standards of his time period, no. By the social standards of today, yes. Especially if they were to romanticize it.
Okay. Also, where were you put Malcolm X?
It depends. Are we talking about his religious views or his political views?
Well, politically, he was kind of very socialist, but like it didn't make sense because he applied it in a right-wing framework.
It depends on how it would be applied, referring to his context. If it's used in the context of because of his social views, his political views have reason and meaning, it'd have to then fit in with his political views as he sees them and how he fit into Islam. Because his views, once he became a convert, varied greatly and are the prototypical example of leftist thought as is applied in a framework outside of reasoning and meaning. And the meaning being then derived in and of itself from that context, which then leads to a very serious composition of how a person actually views themselves and how that is useful for viewing themselves. So instead of, say, for example, Malcolm X was an influential figure for African Americans because he was able to give them a contrary opinion that presented a viewpoint that was not often heard or seen or experienced from that of the works of Martin Luther King. In that context, the works of Martin Luther King were focused on we need to be non-violent, and his were, a little bit of violence, a little bit of violence, a little bit of violence. Keep these motherfuckers scared.
The whole thing about Malcolm X was the whole thing. It was personal respect, respecting yourself. Because it wasn't non-violence. The thing is, if violence was necessary, violence it was. If peace was necessary, integration was necessary, then peace and integration was. But it was all due through the lens of respecting yourself. there was no debasing of the black people for peace.
It depends on what scholar you read at the time that allows it. If you were to read specifically people who sided with him and his worldview, their position was black Africans had to debase themselves and basically allow themselves to be used by those that they would be considered their political rivals, which in this case would then relate to black feminists being used by white feminists as a token to then give them further power in white feminism while not respecting black women as their equal. Which would be true, but then at what limit do you then hold personal responsibility for those that allow it to happen? When does that responsibility echo to what should be the quality you want? Do you care that they were used, or do you care that they were not the ones using? Because the viewpoint there is that, oh, they were not the ones that were in control. They didn't really care about them. They didn't really have their best interests at heart, because if they did, they would have let us have the reins of power. Which is concerning for people who are usually known to be revolutionaries that will hijack a narrative and demonstrate how little care they have for the common man, if not just people.
Carl, this just explains modern day society.
I mean, I suppose if you spin and wax poetic enough, you eventually arrive at that position, which was the point of what I was saying. The problem is that then you have to filter that through a historic lens and then filter it back through a modern lens. And this is usually where they end up with a position of taking the most radical position, but not holding themselves accountable to what that position entails. So if you follow the ideas of a radical who's willing to commit violence, you end up having a person who actively committed terrorism be a modern feminist that people quote. I died. That becomes a modern feminist that people quote actively, and then do not realize the doublethink they allowed to get to that point. Oh, they're influential because they were a very integral part of what made the movement possible. And how did they make the movement possible? Oh, they firebombed buildings? They firebombed buildings. They threw Molotov cocktails at buildings as a member of Jane's Revenge, and they're not currently in jail. You gave them a platform!
Oh, it's like Planned Parenthood. It's like, so I have a meme about this, like, about what, whose is it? What's the gender of it? And then she goes, what race is it? Because, like, literally, she was making Planned Parenthood to get rid of the colors, but they can't ideologically admit that because, well, they can, but they won't say it's bad because they ideologically like the place they are.
It's the problem of understanding the tool that it is, and understanding the dangers that it comes with, but not fully rationalizing and taking accountability for what that means. So, when we think of Margaret Sanger, and we think of people using Planned Parenthood as a talking point to say that abortion gave women the control to no longer be underneath men's thumb, who would you be underneath the thumb of? In society, we put people through shotgun weddings. If we believe that a person needed to be held accountable for the actions of impregnating a woman and making her no longer have opportunities, we needed to, quote, make an honest man out of them, and have that man make an honest woman of her. So that man would be held accountable to a shotgun wedding to basically stand by the consequences of his actions. We did this to Southerners, we did this to Northerners, we did this to mid-country folk. This was a basic routine in Appalachia. They are where we get that meme from. You came along and had sex with our very young and virile and fertile young sister. She has never known the ways of a man or a woman. She does not realize what she has done to herself. And we know that she's not going to have the opportunity to do things because she's now going to be tied to the child that we don't believe in getting rid of because the sin was in the sex, not in the union that was produced by it. So, you're going to make an honest woman out of her, and we're going to make you be an honest man. And if you don't like it, well, you're going to have to talk to me and my cousins and all my male cousins and all our shotguns. The accountability factor is there. Men holding men accountable for impregnating women because the women were socially perceived to be in a weaker position than the other. But we don't usually hear the female comparison to this. I need to go to the bathroom. Be right back. We don't usually hear the social comparison of this from the woman's perspective on how women hold men accountable. Because usually women holding men accountable for an action that they perceive themselves to be weaker in isn't something that results in anything else other than rape.
and removing rape from the conversation, you don't have anything to replace that with. Be right back.
So, chat, I want you to put zeros and ones in the chat for just random reasons. I want Carl to be confused when he gets back. So just type 01010101 for as long as you find necessary.
Make him think we've done a stupid poll.
So, Halfling, how's your day going?
Good. I've just recovered from a bad case of stomach flu, norovirus.
Oh, that fucking sucks.
Yeah.
So did you drink some chicken noodle soup, some beef stew, something?
I wasn't at the worst of it. I wasn't able to keep stuff like that down. Like my appetite only came back in the past 12 hours, and I had a sandwich and a banana. And that alone has filled me up.
Is the question. What does it look like when women hold men accountable for unplanned pregnancies in modern society? Because I'm pretty sure the answer is shotgun weddings. She goes to her father, or her father finds out that she's impregnated by somebody, especially the lone stranger that came into town and had taken interest in his child. And he holds him accountable by making him take a shotgun wedding. But what does a matriarch-led example of holding men accountable for pregnancy look like? Does anybody have any ideas or no?
The state.
And?
No, social shaming?
And?
Chat, help me out here.
Does anybody want to take a crack at it? Meanwhile, I'll read it back up the chat. Does anyone want to take a crack at it? Anyone?
Nah, I'm good. I already took my 2 cracks.
The first one is the state. Women go to the state, file for child support. He gets held up in court. 2, defects. Man is held accountable for his impregnating a woman. He's held up in court, and then he has to give child support. That then gets further garnished on him, along with the information getting passed around the community, usually by the women. And society. And the pressure might be put upon people who abandon their children. The state, society, culture. So, tying that back to the framework of what we just talked about. What does the left man look like?
What do they look like?
A parasocial grifter. We already said that. So what does a woman of the left look like?
A woman? Look, what would that... A snitch?
I mean, that's one thing to call it, but that's not the word I'm looking for.
Whistleblower?
A what?
A whistleblower?
I mean, that's one way of calling it, but that's not the word I'm looking for either.
Informant?
Also the word I'm looking for. If a male is a parasocial grifter who is forward-facing but holds deeply personal concerns and opinions that he would not let see the light of day, what does a woman of the left look like?
Oh, a fucking activist.
They're activists, yes, but what kind of activist?
God damn it. Feminist?
That's the same thing.
God damn it! I don't know. I can't do this alone, chat. Halfling, help.
What is opportunity cost? If I do one opportunity, I am foregoing other opportunities. What does Planned Parenthood exist to do? Planned Parenthood exists to give women financial opportunities to avoid the financial burden of children. If Planned Parenthood is a great boon to women because it frees them from the control of patriarchy, from being forced to give birth to children that they would be burdened by, what does Planned Parenthood do? It gives women opportunities to abandon their responsibilities. And the people who often like to say, shout your abortion, and women who frequently love to make posts saying it's aborted, are people who... ... Someone in chat's gonna pick up what I'm putting down. Also,
Are psychopaths?
I mean, some of them are, but that's not the word I'm looking for. I said the word like 4 times. I'm reading back through the chat. If you don't like Lincoln, it should be mainly because he crushed the rights of the state by going too far in the issue. True. Lease, child support. Verbal abuse, the person in the institution holding other people down. Informant. Feminist, raider, snake. Crest is about the closest person. They're an opportunistic grifter. If men of the left are parasocial grifters who use the public, and they use opinions, and they use perceptions, and they use conversations, and they use public narratives, and they use opportunities upon which to push their political opinions upon other people and explain why their worldview is best because if things were my way, this wouldn't happen, women of the left are opportunistic grifters who use the parasocial function but better make use of the opportunistic side of what allows them to use their social power over others. Men in a society where the right have abandoned modern masculinity and the left have abandoned young men are people who give women power over men by supporting that women are weak. Man bad, woman weak. The Church of Women Worsting. The Church of Women Worsting believe that men are parasocial creatures that want to abuse and control men and other women because patriarchy theory, kyriarchy. The belief that everything in society is in the involved structure of the formulation of the man, the eternal sky daddy who consequently punishes you for the crime of being a woman. So a woman of the left is an opportunistic person who takes the power that comes with the patriarchy theory and says, oh, you can't blame me for getting pregnant. I didn't choose this. Patriarchy did. Patriarchy is the reason I choose I am forced to put makeup on. Because they have put social influence and power. But patriarchy is controlled by women. So women are making women put makeup on, because other women judge women for their appearance and their beauty, where men could not give a fucking damn, other than the superficial idea of, do I want to fuck it?
A perfect example of that is how every sports magazine ever has had bigger women than any fucking beauty magazine for women.
Like
but fat shaming is a male issue.
The thing that I'm noticing here is that erudite's not even in the conversation yet. White, black, white, doesn't matter. We'll assume for purposes that the man in the bottom right panel might be African American. Doesn't really matter. Male. If the panel's purpose is to have men on to discuss how the left have failed young men, why is there no women that are also here to discuss how this has failed men other than erudite? And erudite's not in the conversation yet. So in these first 5 minutes of the opening, The men are currently circling the drain on defining what a man of the left is. And they define a man of the left of being a sensible, liberal-minded person with social values consistent of that of the political angle of those who are on, quote, the left. And people on the left seem to believe that this is useful. This is something that makes sense for them. It makes sense that a man of the left is a person who believes in society, who believes of social structure and of people. But what social structure is there when your position is adopt anything that allows me to feel better about my fellow man from the position of an enlightened noble who looks down on and also idealizes the noble savage. When you're in a culture that has no traditions and no values and no standards and no principles for which you're willing to stand on and not budge from, what are you other than a person who makes use of whatever narrative is best for you at the time? Male or female? And when you're female and you live in the society and you know that everything's gynocentric, what man or woman that you know you have power over is going to fight you on this issue if you can get the political and social perception and narrative on your side to pretend and act as a victim even if you know that you are not? That's why the left have left behind young men, and why they say in comparison they have also seen the right abandon modern masculinity. Masculinity in this setting says, I know what's right, I know what's just, and I'm not fucking budging. I'm not going to move, you move. The left has abandoned that position and believing that modern masculinity is, listen bro, I don't personally know if this is something that I should care about, but the women are angry, so we should stand by the women, because true allies uplift women. Masculinity says, I'm not going to move because that bitch is crazy. Modern masculinity says, excuse me, right this way, queen, you know best. Is it beginning to click now? The point that I was getting towards?
Yeah, I get it.
I get it. We get it.
That for me?
I can do it.
Do it. Do it. Yeah, a good role model, not a bullshit role model. You know, Neil deGrasse Tyson.
A good role model?
No, Neil deGrasse Tyson. Neil deGrasse Tyson is a decent person.
Cap.
I'll give a good role model for the right. I'll give okay, so it's got to be a timestamp role model though. So it's Jordan Peterson pre-2019 or whatever pre-drug like that. So he had principles. He spoke for what he believed. He was brave. He had principles that he was teaching to other people that were generalizable, and how young men specifically could go about developing their own principles and coming into their masculinity in a broad and understanding sense, sometimes relating to physicality, always relating to intellectuality, and how to integrate that into being an effective person who interacts with the world in a way that produces good outcomes.
Our friend Chinchilla asked me, what was a good lefty male role model, and and not a question that I'm used to. I gave him Cenk Uygur and Sam Cedar, right? And my
Cap and Cap. Those two are horrible role models.
Awful. That these two individuals have a more egalitarian, a more harmony.
Cap, no, they don't.
Mindset, right? And they are men, and if I wanted my kid to grow up someone, I want him to grow up like Sam Cedar. Be
I want my child to grow up like an internet grifter who tries to get gotchas on the internet, and when he can't get gotchas on the internet by himself, he turns to Ethan Klein to try and justify his position so he can have an argument versus people like that who represents the position of people who would be, quote, on the right, like Steven Crowder. I want my child to be like an internet Jewish man who uses his Jewish heritage and his Jewish nationality as a cudgel to attack other people. I want my child to learn how to use his racial traits as a way to perceive and grant power from others by beating them over the head with it. That's who you want your child to be. You want your child to be a fucking social justice warrior. Bro, no. What were you going to say?
I was going to say that they were pointing out, yeah, Jordan Peterson, pre-2019. I'm like, so a left-winger? Do they still not cope with the fact that he was very left-wing back then?
Nope.
It's just the fact that he had principles?
Nope, never will. If he gives good opinions to the right wing, he's right wing.
Really smart, intellectual person, right? But that doesn't really deal with masculinity. I can't say the word. Being a man, right? So those
They're role models that happen to be male. They're not masculine role models.
Exactly, right. So I failed there. So like, can we move past it? So like, you saying Neil deGrasse Tyson? I hear you, Neil deGrasse Tyson. Overall, pretty good guy.
You don't have to deal necessarily with masculine. It's like, oh, I'm a masculine guy. Look at me.
I think you have to be. I think you literally have to be.
If you think of yourself like a child, think of yourself as a child, and you're looking for role models. You're not necessarily looking for like explicit, like observable masculinity. Like if you ask some, for me in my community, like for black community, you ask a black woman like who's your role model, they may say like Michelle Obama without her like explicitly making like an explicit point of view that she's feminine. Or you.
They look for a role model because what they believe should be a role model is something that exemplifies the ideal nature of how to deal with and face the world. That's what we usually look for when we talk about wanting a male role model. There are some of you who, mistakenly, choose me as a male role model because look at this man, unkempt, absolutely feral in his modern nature. This nigga doesn't care about anything. Look at him. Look at how he talks. Look at how he socializes. He's me. So I want to be like him. But do you? To get here, you have to have personal life experiences. And those personal life experiences might not be something that you want to emulate. Same thing with using somebody like Michelle Obama. Oh man, she's such a strong woman, how she stood next to her man. She probably made a lot of his career possible. She was probably a really good first lady for all those 8 years she was there. But what did she actually do for you? Black women, feminists in general. She had a school lunch routine, which was probably one of the most unhealthiest things that ever existed for people who had to deal with that as their upcomings, because I had to eat that for 4 years of my high school career. And let me tell you, they did not listen to anything she fucking said. We ate some of the greasiest fucking shit here in the South for lunch. We were given greasy-ass fucking pizza with sides of ranch. It is a regular pastime that we drown the fucking thing in that, because the cheese is garbage. Actively giving children copious amounts of Texas Pete to douse giant pieces of breasts. And yet,
So
people... Yes.
Even the salads were awful. The salad they had was like, frozen peas with a whole bunch of chicken nuggets and the cheese and everything. I'm like, man, this is a lot.
You couldn't really do a lot. They were only allowed to serve chef salads with really bad shredded cheese. But you say Michelle Obama because you like how she looked in the political limelight, not because of how she personally handles her life. And if you knew what she personally did in her life, if you actually knew all of the things that she was involved in, you'd probably not use her as a role model. But I understand a person wanting to use a first lady as a role model. She is the closest that you can get to what is supposed to be the return of a Victorian-style era. Me, if I was somebody, I would choose Kate Middleton. That would be a proper role model. The exemplar of what it means to be a person who understands pomp, circumstance, pedigree, and dynasty. We don't hear about Kate Middleton doing dumb shit, do we? No. That is a very proper British Rose, who knows her role and fucking plays it. She doesn't play the role because masculinity dictated in society and decided, yeah, you're marrying a prince, you're going to give birth to his children, and that will be your legacy. No, her legacy is understanding what it means to be a part of the British royalty, and what having tact is. Which is ultimately what we mean when we talk about a role model. A role model is somebody who has tact and circumstance and understanding of how to move in the place where they live. Me, having tact, understanding when to go hard, when to go soft, when to be gentle, when to be firm, that is being a man, just as much as it is being a woman. Because these are not masculine and feminine traits. They are concepts that we gendered because we have a personal perception of what that is. We think being calm and concerned is a female trait because we have associated the idea of a wild woman who does not have the ability to understand how to speak about things is the same as a person who cannot control themselves. So we have a focus of understanding self-control and self-independence, which are also masculine traits. Because do you want to file a wild man who's just shouting and barking orders at people with no understanding of how to listen and how to communicate? No, you do not. That doesn't make him feminine or masculine. But we associate those things because we have a social construct where if somebody calls you feminine, we consider that to be a negative trait if you are not of that particular perception that they are going for. But in order for that perception to be applicable, you must represent the thing that they're being, or you must reject the thing that they're claiming. The reason we call somebody cringe, and we embarrass people and clown on people and make lolcows of people because of their cringy behavior is because to us, a person doing something that is cringe is something that basically makes us wince. We see somebody doing something embarrassing and we say, ooh, I don't want to, it wouldn't be me, bro. Couldn't be me, bro. So, if I do something like criticize a person for being cringe by supposing that actually, whoa, bro, you actually like listening to women, you actually like talking to women, you actually like listening and talking to women about your personal issues, bro, that couldn't be me. It's because I have an understanding that I can be gentle and soft and talk about my issues and problems with people that I trust. That doesn't mean I'm going to talk to about every single woman. Because then a woman can say, ooh, Carl, you used to be abused? Side eye, ick. How could you be a man and get abused? No real man would let themselves get abused. What is a real man in that context? What is a real man in that context? What's a real man in that context? A real man is a man who never expresses his emotions. He's completely stoic. That's not a man. That is a dead corpse walking. Because it's a ticking time bomb to not talk about those issues. But who does he talk about it with? Other, quote, real men? What if those real men have the framework that if they talk about their emotions that they're not real men? Concepts that are usually put in the head of them by single mothers who don't like hearing about the things that young boys go through because they're not men. They don't realize that men do shit that needs to be understood and can only be understood by other men. You can't be a man for me. You need to be a woman for me. If you're my parent, if you're a woman and you're dating me, I need you to be a woman for me, not a man for me. But you can indeed be a bro for me if you be like, you gotta suck that shit the fuck up. Bro, you just gotta learn how to fucking know your place and how to stay your role. You just gotta accept that your role in this job is that you have to do what you gotta do, and if everybody else wants to fuck with you about it, fuck them. You just gotta know what you gotta do, honey. Your partner can definitely do that for you. And men, don't believe that you can't be above that. Go ahead and let her put her fupa on your forehead and be like, honey, you can do anything you want to. You can literally do anything you need to. Literally anything you got. You just tell me what you need and I got you. If you need anybody at all to get the fuck down, you just point and I will bark. Woof, woof. Like, all you gotta do is just worry about that and you just gonna be straight. Concept still applies. It still works. And that's literally the role that women used to have. Why would they need to be a man when they know that their power as a woman is to whisper in a man's ear and get him to do whatever the fuck she said? That's where real power belied. That's where real control belied. That's dynasty structure. That's how societies and cultures and kingdoms were made. By the whispers that are made in a bedchamber and the deals made over the business center in diplomacy. But for some reason, we, in society, have decided that being a man must fit into the framework of a social political structure. And as we've talked on the channel before, in this social political structure, where we believe the most important thing isn't who you are, but what you look like when you're doing it, we care about social perceptions and how you might look when that is had and when that is discussed. It is much like in Signifier's video. Right now, I am exemplifying that example of that eponymous male that they can't grasp. These men aren't dumb, they're very intelligent, and we just need to bring their intelligence to us, but we can't. They're stuck with the chuds. But the chuds believe that you can't tell me what to do and how to think and how to act just because you claimed, well, you see, you should be like me. No, I don't want to be like you. I don't want women to tell me that everything I do is literally giving them energy. Well, you know what should give you energy? The food I harvest for you. The ideas I give to you. The concepts I bring to your doorstep. You choose whether or not they're valuable. I can only present to you the argument, not the reasoning. And the reasoning and the argument, but not the purpose and the point. You have to derive that from yourself. I can bring you the energy, but I can't make you consume it. I can bring you the perspective, but I can't make you see through my lens. Savvy? Clap, clap.
Clap, clap.
Also, hello, Harvey.
Barack Obama is a role model without something like explicitly masculine.
But Michelle Obama super overtly, what's the word? Performs
femininity was a part of her,
performs femininity, right?
Less so for Barack Obama, he wasn't making masculinity such an important part of his stuff. Yeah. But he still is a good masculine.
I do get what you're saying. I'm just saying I think like you don't have to be telling everybody this is what it means to be a man if you want to be a masculine role model. But like being a man needs to be a really important part of your performance of gender, which is a big part of your personality. I think if you want
performance of gender as a part of your personality. I don't need to perform my gender. As a man, I am a man. I am Carl. Carl will perform what Carl believes is in his viewpoint of masculinity. So if my viewpoint of masculinity is pointing out how people ignore the canary in the coal mine, I'm gonna put the canary in your face and be like, listen to the fucking canary sing, bitch. Oh, you don't want to listen to the canary sing? Oh, that's not a whole problem. I can stay here and hold this canary forever, and we'll just have this argument without you.
I want to be a masculine role model, whereas like a lot of people we talked about before, Neil deGrasse Tyson, Sam Cedar, and a bunch of the other guys we mentioned, they don't really perform a very masculine role.
That's not true. That's not true. Every time Neil deGrasse Tyson sits in an interview, he's yelling at people that are pushing back at him. That's pretty masculine. Do you not agree?
No, yelling is not masculine. It is an aggressive personality trait. Aggressive personality traits are not masculine in nature. Because if you associate anger and rage and aggravation with men, you have already failed the social construct. Because that's a social construct.
Assertiveness is kind of masculine, but my point isn't about like what he's capable of. I agree that he's super capable.
So you're saying masculinity is basically physical strength, correct?
No, it's an aesthetic. It's a performance. It's something that you give off. It's an aura.
But what do you think about like Obama? Like he comes off like very like.
The way this conversation is just weird. Like, what if Finster is your masculine role model? Sometimes like Finster could be your masculine role model. Like RuPaul could be your masculine role model.
Okay, that doesn't make sense though, because
no one thinks
Finster's whole that doesn't make sense though, because Finster's whole shtick is that his maleness is contrasted with how distinctly feminine he looks. So to say that Finster is your role model in masculinity is to fundamentally not understand what Finster is trying to achieve by being Finster.
Gender is a performance as reflected in your actions, therefore if you act aggressive, you are a male. Like Finster! The femboy!
Carl, we're all female. Male is just a psyop.
I suppose.
True. That's the problem.
That's the energy I'm getting.
There's going to be a generation where the binary of it just kind of melts, and then maybe like we evolve past
this generation.
So here's the thing: we're doing the stupid terminally online thing, where we say, "Well, what do these words mean?" Like blah blah. No, we have to be using other people's vernacular, right? 80% of the population of the globe knows what you mean when you say masculine, and it excludes RuPaul. I think this weird thing happens throughout culture, where we smuggle all this random into masculinity, and it's basically just everything that's good about being a person. And it's like, that's not fair. Being a man isn't being better, right? Being a man isn't making money. Being a man isn't having respect and having manners and like all these other things. This is not about, that's not about being man. No, here's the thing. It shouldn't be. Being a man isn't a good thing inherently. It's neutral. Being a good person is being a good person, okay? And when we try to say that everything that is being good is what being a man is, we're robbing women of everything that is good, okay? A bunch of those virtues. Well, no, hold on, because this is what happens every single time, right? If you talk in red pill spaces about what it is to be a man, they'll talk about
things that are generally just not.
Yeah.
Like being a CEO, as an example, right? Being a CEO is like masculine. Organizing people, being a leader. It's like, wait, hold on. Social cohesion is a facet of femininity. Understanding other people's specific needs, wants, concerns, and how to organize them together cohesively is feminine. Being the most effective man is integrating femininity and masculinity. But what we keep doing is we do this bait and switch, where we take all of the good stuff, all the positive, amazing, wonderful, respectable, and we say, oh, that's masculinity. It's like, no, mother. Being a masculine is not just good. It's just neutral. It's just a bunch of stuff. And it's like, if you are a good person, you need to incorporate both. Right? So I don't like this Victorian idea of like what masculinity was either, because it's like a bunch of stuff is feminine and for the best.
I want to respond to you, Nick, because of the fact that you said like, well, being a good man is like having both of these traits of like masculinity and femininity. And it's like, of course, like we are all here on the left, and we are all kind of agreeing that having those kind of traits and having a balance of traits is like positive. But that being said, like those motherfuckers on the right sell it way better, right? Those motherfuckers on the right, they sell it. They have the self-help courses and all the bullshit courses that they have. And why is it that we cannot sell?
Because the left just isn't selling it at all. That's the issue. It's like I don't think that the left can't sell it well. Yeah, they don't bother. Like,
did they not sell a different type of masculinity?
This is also kind of recent though. Like this is kind of recent for the right to be having all the like as much as the old Jordan Peterson was always dangerous. I think like he was always catering to young impressionable men. Like that's why people came over to him, because they were young, impressionable, they were mad against the world, they didn't know what a man was anymore. So like it was always dangerous. They've been doing this only semi-recently.
Between now and then, this technology's funneled to such a great degree that we can actually encompass more to what.
You can tell that this man came to fucking debate because he said, "Fuck the chair. I don't need the chair. I'll stand for this shit." I like him. However, we smuggle concepts into the concept of being normal people into what it means to be a man, like being a CEO and having money and being a baller. What we should be doing is learning how to be both male and female with our social behaviors and integrate them into our whole. I agree with we should do that, but we can't sell like the right can. No motherfuckers always be closing. Doesn't that speak to the fact that the problem that the left has is that they don't understand how to communicate how to be a leftist? And the reason why they can't communicate how to be a leftist or how to be left-wing while still being yourself is because to be left-wing means to homogenize yourself into a social construct where you stop being a person and you become instead a identity marker with multiple other identity markers in the social construct of intersectionality. And therefore your intersectionality dictates that you cannot be yourself. You must be yourself and an African American and a Frenchman and a multinational and a multiracial and every other obstacle and abstract and consequence and social perception somebody can stack onto you. That was not rhetorical. That was just me presenting the thought line. That is indicative of the problem with the left. That the left do not understand how to define what to be and how to be it without particularly being a chud. Nothing can be done to be a part of the left if you're not at all times full-throatedly devouting the position of what effectively is a sect of a religion. It doesn't have to even be the Church of Women Worsting. It's just the church of, but we could do better though. Like, we as men, we're doing pretty good, but we could do better, though. But we can't bring men in from the other side because those men have just been tricked. They're in the shadow realm, bro. I don't know how to reach them. I think we're doing kind of good, but we could do better. And I think that they should be doing as well as us. But like, the people who tricked them into going to the shadow realm, those motherfuckers sold them a good-ass lie. Why can't we sell ourselves like that? Because I think we're doing good, but we could do better. I got a trade.
Hail Godslayer.
Does anybody want to respond to that before I start the video up again? I need to make this trade.
A great way to just point this out is the fact that the identity, like you said, is identity is a social construct that completely alienates the idea of acknowledging what male is, because you can't acknowledge it and then adhere to the social construct, which is just sad, honestly.
The ultimate problem is that if you identify that there is a thing that your enemy is doing, and they perceive them as enemies, if you perceive that there is something that your enemy is doing that has merit and value, that personally values you, but you rule yourself out from being able to use that value because you do not recognize how you should go about doing it, but you know that you could use it, you're explaining that the value that it should have to you effectively is valueless, because if I were to do that thing, I would be just like them. I couldn't possibly use this thing for that. How could I? No. I can't do the thing my enemy does, because then I and my enemy are benefiting from a thing. Don't you know that Hitler drank water? Because Hitler drank water, I can't ever drink water again! They could just learn to drink fucking water, bro. They could learn to drink fucking water and not worry about that shit. But for some reason, they worry about that shit. It's so concerning that they think about that shit and then tell themselves, well, see, it's not that bad, but it is that bad. 'Cause, like, bad, bro. It's a circle argument that doesn't end. Because if you recognize that they're winning, quote, because they are selling better, that doesn't necessarily mean that the message is good, and they know that. But they can't somehow parse how to move from step 1 to step 2. Step 2 is we recognize that we are bad at selling our message, so how do we stop being bad at being salesmen? Well, I, as a preacher, think, no, stop thinking like a preacher. Think like a seller. Think like a businessman. I want to sell a concept to somebody. How do I sell it to them? I don't present it like a fucking religious doctrine. I don't say, and because you are a chud, you will die in the sins of chuddom. You will die in the flames of the bottle pit. There will be a fire spurring out of your butthole because you are a chud. You will always be a chud, and you will never deal with the fact that your butthole will be on fire. But if you reject your chudness and become a leftist, then you will be not shitty. But you will always be a chud, but we will be able to douse the flame in your butthole.
It is a being man.
I mean, when I say men, I mean like men. Like we're men. We're men's men. We're man. Like, you know what I mean?
That's
Like,
still a thing. That never stopped being a thing. We just now also consider the negative aspects of probably dealing with this, or just the negative aspects of life in general, or depression. And we can actually address. We can actually address mental illness. We can actually address, like medicine has increased. We can actually address like identity.
That is such wibbly wobbly bullshit, especially in that part where you start mocking him. Which, ironically, is a part of being a man. You two are actually displaying what it is to be a man. To try and stand on your point. He is demonstrating the positive quality of being a man. I have an argument. I have a concept. I have something to say. I want you to understand and hear it, not because I want to speak over you, but because I want you to hear me. I don't want you to listen to me. I want you to hear me. You need to hear me out before you can listen. Open your ears. Open your ears, which is to really say, open your mind and let me in. You're not letting me in. He is demonstrating the negative quality of being a man. No, I'm saying to you what is true and real. These things never stopped being, bro. You're not seeing it from me, bro. Bro, why can't you see what I'm talking about? I want you to see what I'm talking about. He wants him to hear him so he can listen to the deeper principle. He wants him to see where he's coming from. But they're all aware where he's coming from. It's where we just were. Literally, they said, we're trying to get past this. We need to get past that point. We see where the fuck we came from. Turn your head. Turn it to the horizon. To the horizon, nigga. To the horizon, nigga. What's over there? We know what came from the ship. What's over here?
A lot more because
this is correct.
We literally have communication and learning tools in our hands that we have built up a gym 15 years ago. This technology was in a gym, in the size of a gym, and now it's in our pocket.
The red pillars, red pillars are just grifters. That's all it is. Like,
the red pillars are just grifters. Any person who could ever identify with being a red pill, they don't actually care about people. They're salesmen that specifically want to sell them a concept as a Ponzi scheme, which wouldn't be inaccurate. There are some that are grifters, but what about the ones that aren't? No comment? Finish your sentence, Chinchilla.
They found impressionable people. They claimed it and tied it to a political ideology. The reason there's no left masculine men is because it's not necessarily defined in a lot of circles on the left.
They found that.
No, it is defined in the left. Being a masculine man is being a footstool. Being a stool pigeon. Being a purse puppy. A good, strong left man is a man who knows his place and knows that if a woman says different, he listens to her.
Patriarchy, being sexist, like works for them. Like people, when they respond to Fresh and Fit, they're always like, "Oh, they're not getting this. They're not. They are."
Stop using Fresh and Fit as an example. People do not reflect the opinions and views of Fresh and Fit.
They are successful and they are rich, and people see that. They're not exactly grifters because they're doing what works for them. They're preaching what works for them. It's just what works for them.
All right, so I don't want to hear this fucking pity party shit from the left anymore, okay? From left wing advocates. No, I don't want to hear this like, oh, no, it's not us, it's them, the red pill, the conservatives, they're doing all this nasty stuff. Like, shut the fuck up, okay? Get some good ads. Start running commercials. They're winning everybody over because every time we talk about what it is to be a man, we go on these diatribes of like, well, what really is a man? What really is gender? How many of them are there? Oh God! And it's like, dude, shut the fuck up.
How could you say that the right? How could you say that the right? No, hold on. How could you say the right is winning when the right completely got destroyed in the midterms?
How could you say that the right is winning on social structures when we won every seat of political power? Because the right wing
wasn't sketchy at all.
Because the right wing losing seats of political power means that they're not responsible for what's happening in society. It's because when something goes bad, they can say, I'm pantomiming them walking to the side. You see this bullshit? You see this shit? This is what happens when you put the left in power. If you put me in power, motherfucker, I can get this shit solved immediately. We wouldn't have none of these issues. The same way that when a Republican is in power, you all do the same thing and getting caught on the rope. Look at how these people act. Look at them. Look at how they act. Look at them. Look at how these people are just abusive. Look at how this shit. Look at this. Look at this mess. If you put us in charge, we wouldn't have this goddamn problem. Look at what the left. Look what happens when you don't have the left in charge. Look what happens. Chaos, disorder. Let's take care of this. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But what has happened is that now, instead of saying, look at the problems and how people are not doing things the way we would do it, they instead said, listen, Democrat, Republican, don't matter who the fuck's in office. Listen to me and I'm gonna show you the way to thrive and survive in abundance. You ain't gotta fucking struggle. You ain't gotta fucking strangle. You don't have to just survive. You can prosper, motherfucker. Listen to my multi-tiered course and I will sell you on the way to be able to fix shit on the long end, motherfucker. Which then brings us to the point of the thumbnail. If things were so hopeless that you could not be able to survive, that life really for you was not operating from a position of abundance or operating from a position of a foundation, but always operating from a position of survival, if they were really winning, the propaganda would not be necessary. When you say, well, if they really have all this control and power, why did he get fucking smashed in politics? Because politics are not the same as the heart and soul of the nature. And in the heart and soul of man and woman, especially in the heart and soul of the republic, there are people who will question powers just like they question elections. And if you are so stupid as to not realize that you have not won the hearts and minds of people, then you are fucking lost and have no business around the power of politic.
How can you say this?
We're talking about the social. We're talking social.
Well, I mean, social standing is not needed in voting shit.
We're doing it again! We're doing it again!
He's correct. He is 100% correct. Again, this is what it means to be a man. To explain how deeply passionate the problem is. Where you start saying, well, how could you say that these things are this? Like, don't you understand? Like, politics are very important to the social structure. They're really not on the long end. What's done in the state of Wyoming doesn't affect me in the state of Georgia. Do you know why? Because nation states, which is what the United States are, it's 50 to 51 depending on how you feel about Cuba. Nation states deciding the laws of how they will govern themselves, reporting to the District of Columbia, the federal state, on how they manage themselves, and then having a larger framework of rules that can be referred to from the Bill of Rights and the many amendments to the Constitution, appending new rights or restricting old rights or restricting and making clear the rule of law where it would have been very narrow, very incapable of being discussed, and very hard to define to be extremely easy to understand at a glance. Oh, what's that? I have the right to assemble, and I cannot be held in illegal search or seizure. And in Georgia, I can stand my ground and use my weapon? That was easy. Oh, in California, they can actively give me AIDS if they felt like it because it's not a felony? It's only a criminal misdemeanor of a class Schedule 2 assignment? They won't even get 5 to 10 years. They could get fucking probation. What the fuck is this shit? I can't bring kids to a drag show in Texas. And I can't have them be responsible for the medical appropriation of children who are under a peerless manner upon the actions of cross-dressers and or sexual performers. Well, Cletus, we're gonna have to go with one state over. We're going to Alabama, motherfucker. That's the job. That's the job of politics. The job of politics is not
Beverly Hillbilly.
The job of politics is to make it easier for the people to govern themselves. That's why instead of having pure democracy, we have a representative public. because we have a representative public, we have the House of Representatives representing people, and we have the state governors and senators representing the issues of those states. And then the president and the Speaker of the House and the Vice President, who sit over these chambers, then are able to discuss these issues and then have it understood what is in the best interest of the public, and then present the bill, and then the bill is presented to SCOTUS, who then decides, you know, he wants to have people confiscate the guns of people. Do you think we should be letting the government confiscate guns? And then meanwhile, from the end of the table, Corn Pop goes, no, we will not let my niggas lose their weapons. Tyranny must be filled, and for a nation to be able to rise, occasionally the tree of liberty must be watered with the blood of tyrants. Do you feel me, son? Now get this Roe v. Wade. Now get this Roe v. Wade off my fucking desk. That is effectively what happens there. If you say, actually, how could these men not understand what it means to be social? Why can't they have to be engaged in politics? Congratulations, you have done the thing that people always do, which is failing to understand that that does not mean they need to be on your side. When you say that, you are literally saying everything is political, even your presentation and performance as a man, and what it means to be a man, and what it means to have the social function of a man, and what it means to have the social function of a man in a society while being a leftist. Adam Penile knows him. Down the fucking spiral. Down the fucking spiral.
I want to engage. I want to engage with what makes sense.
Hey, you are not talking about anything I said. There's something very specific I need to clear up because people are trying not to understand what I'm saying. When I say the right is winning, I'm saying specifically this culture war for young men, right? The left is losing the ad campaign. That's why Andrew Tate is a problem. That's why we're here, and that's why we're talking.
Do you have any stats?
Why men?
For this? Do you have any stats for this whatsoever?
Why Andrew Tate and men like Andrew Tate are a problem? Not that's why Andrew Tate is a problem. Andrew Tate is not a problem. Andrew Tate is a person who's not personally affecting you, but he is a person who is affecting the politic. He is an optic point, which is why it was so important for people to do the same thing they did to any person who ever presents an opinion that is not yours. It's what you all did to Kevin Samuels. You mocked the man's death and said, good riddance, now we don't have to worry about you poisoning the mind of young boys. And then all of his female coaches and all of his female clients effectively demonstrated this is what happens when you don't have a man who's able to keep women in check. They start saying what they think they deserve, and they start talking real fucking wild, which usually is then the job of the man to say, bitch, get in your fucking place. Not because she deserves to be a slave, but because, oh, you deserve a man who has 6 figures, 6 inches, and has 6 feet of height? Because you want to have really nice, good genetics for your kids? Why do you deserve that? Because I'm a woman and I deserve the best, because I deserve to be taken care of? Why? What do you bring to the table? I bring my ass to the table, and you be able to eat my ass while I eat the food that you bought for me. Why? Because I'm not a slave. So what did you do to benefit from the situation, and what did you do to make that shit possible? I fucked him on the regular? I'm sorry, pussy ain't good enough. What did you actually do to help build the empire that you want to benefit from? I fucked him on the regular and I cooked and cleaned for him. That's the basic standard. Bitch, that's literally the fucking essentials. What do you mean? That is quite literally the bottom rung. What have you done for him that wasn't able to be done by any other woman? How did you personally help him accomplish this dynasty you want to be the queen of? I see. You didn't do anything. You want him to create something for you, and you don't want to apply anything to that. You just want to sit there and suck in the benefits and suck in the reward without doing any of the work. Which is effectively what Kevin Samuels did. The same way he told the young man, why do you think you belong and deserve to have a woman? Because I work hard, and I get my money right, and I eat the booty like groceries, and I try to understand how she feels. Okay, and what do you think you deserve? Big, thick booty Latina. Okay, why do you think you deserve that? What are you actually doing? How much do you make? How much do you grow? How tall are you? I work as a fast food seller. Okay, you work as a fast food seller. Are you a fry cook? No, I am a general manager. Okay, and how much do you bring in? $100,000 a year. Okay, and are you educated? Yes, I did indeed. I had a scholarship, full ride, D1 athlete, and I had a minor in business, specifically syndication. Okay. You can do a little bit better. What do you think the job of a woman is? To shut up and be in the kitchen? No, that ain't gonna work. That ain't gonna work. Why? Women are subservient to men. No, that ain't gonna goddamn work. That woman is your partner, not a slave. Fuck wrong with you, boy? That's the long and short of what happened with his conversations between men and women. Now, Andrew Tate is definitely somebody that's telling you, listen, you just need to become a top G, right? You need to become a top G and have a harem. You need to become a top G and have a harem, because that's what I did. Look at me. I was able to get everything the way that I wanted to, because I was able to tell my bitch what the fuck she needed to do. I told that bitch we were finna make some fucking money. She got on that camera, she made some fucking money. Who cares that I happened to bring her over by telling her that she was gonna be my girlfriend forever and I was gonna love her? And then I put her in a room with me, my bottom bitch, and her bottom bitch, and we said, listen, what you gonna do is you're gonna get on this camera, you're gonna make some money for daddy, okay? And we also gonna fucking regulate. You love it? I like it. Mwah. Now go get me my money, bitch. Who the fuck cares that's what I did? Look at where I am. I'm a top G. Pain is all I'm finding right now. As the chat slowly watches Carl pantomime and realize, damn, that nigga actually does know what the fuck goes on. It's painful. It's painful that you guys don't pay attention. It's really painful. It really hurts. Hello, Ebony Williams. It's really painful and it hurts. Does anybody disagree with what I just said?
Nah, what you said was pretty based.
No, that made sense to me.
Say it again. Callum?
I said no, it made sense to me.
Okay. We can chat real quick. I don't think Jordan B. Peterson was ideologically captured in adulthood. He's just a thinking person. He described his ideology as caring about people and anti-authoritarian. What they mean is not an authoritarian. The people want to rule. That's what they mean when they say the left. You're giving great relationship advice, Carl. Indeed. When your partner needs advice, suck their dick and lick their coochie. Make them feel better. It is indeed near Kristallnacht tactics out here. They have indeed borrowed effective tactics. Without the tradition, the left lacks roots. So it steals from the others to try to build upon the foundation. And now they're trying to figure out that without the roots of what those foundations stand on, they ultimately stand for nothing. Which is exactly what I said earlier. When you have an ideology that says we must be progressive, and so we must progress into the future, you leave behind the standards that anchor you to the past. One of the old statements that actually was the town standard for Columbus, Georgia, is what tradition has preserved. Before we replaced it with the dumbass law cow opinion of, we do amazing. The right understands that masculinity and femininity, as it performs its roles in society, is a position that is highly religious and sacred, to the point of a deistic experience, because it is this, quote, patriarchy, and this understanding of the gynocentrism, but the reflexive patriotism of a nation-state that has allowed for history to be preserved. It is the natural state of man that we are not going to let somebody be beaten in front of us on the street like a wild dog when they've literally harmed and hurt no one. It is the role of man to feel compassion for his fellow man, the same way that he would for a crying woman, but to also understand that a crying woman doesn't deserve my help just because she's crying, especially if that woman just murdered a man and said, "You don't understand, he was so abusive," when in actuality, discovery and interest and inquiry discovers that actually he wasn't abusive. She just said that she just said that he was abusive because she knows that usually that would work. And when the crocodile tears fade and the femme fatale pulls away the pistol and says, "Don't make me fucking hurt you, boy. I just wanted to get out," you realize, oh, so this is the result of paying attention. Meanwhile, the left would say, no, a woman's crying. Give her what she wants. The woman is crying. Make her the president. The woman is crying, rip up the Constitution. The woman is crying, put the man in jail. Don't even consider the fact that actually she's crying because she's learned how to cry on command. And when we do investigation on details that actually this man never committed a crime, he was literally falsely accused. That's why he's crying on the stand. He was crying because he remembers when she came and latched him into this little fucking thing that she did, and he lost 10 years of his life. Meanwhile, this woman is over here yucking the fuck up with everybody else saying, ha ha, I got that motherfucker. I got that motherfucker. It's
like Zoe Quinn.
Like Zoe Quinn. Or
yeah, that Alex Walker guy. Rest in peace, my man.
R.I.P. Alec Kowalka. This man got manic pixie dream pussied out of existence. And then you had his own sister say actually he deserved it. He deserved to be gatekept, girl bossed, and socially murdered through cringe. I'm laughing, but it's not funny.
I can't say it anymore because I just remember what happened to him.
I want to know stats.
I guess you know what, Rampage? You solved it. Masculinity is not a problem. The red pill's not an issue. Andrew Tate is not a problem. Okay, let's move on then. I guess let's go back to talking about
I want to see what you're talking about stats-wise. You literally just said that.
I need to see numbers. I need to see numbers that represent this issue. The numbers are the amount of people on the internet that have social dysfunction. The numbers are the amount of people who do not understand media literacy. The numbers are the people...
This is the problem with the over-reliance on empiricism. It's just, data. If there isn't numbers attached to it, it doesn't matter. No, you have a priori rationality. You are able to discern truth from the world without it being boiled down into numbers.
Like, the problem with using heuristics, and I wish Aiden was here for this. Maybe we'll finish this tomorrow, because this is a great piece of content, because we're not even going to get time to get to the Kidology interview. The problem with computational heuristics is that when you use an overabundance of statistics to justify your worldview, and you say, 47, let's use Kidology's example, 47% of, British accent, 47% of British men enjoy sexual violence, and I could personally never put myself in such a pedigree to allow a man to violently insert himself inside of me and not even care about my own pleasure. If you say that, I then ask you, okay, where'd you get that number from? I got it from this heuristic statistic. And I say to myself, okay, you don't want men who want to have violent sex with you, so don't have sex with them. And then it becomes, well, I can't know if every man wants to have violent sex with me. I can't possibly know that. That's what dating is. You need to get to know them. You're screening for future husbands, not for good dick. What's going on here? What are we doing? What are we doing? What are we talking about? In this concept, it is we need to have some numbers. I need some numbers. I need some numbers, motherfucker. I need some numbers to back up your fucking point. No, you don't. We have problematized this. We, the left. Not I, the left. We, them, the left, have made a monolith of claiming, hey, these people are problems. We'll make never-ending videos about this new hate figure until this hate figure is irrelevant. And then we'll continue to wax poetic about this problem ad infinitum. We'll never explain the course of where it comes from unless I have a statistic that tells me who they are and what their political opinions are. And that's not helpful. It doesn't do anything. You end up going to the same place, which is the wall, and you hit the wall over and over again. Because it's like, what do these numbers mean, Mason? What do they mean? And we're sitting here like, what the fuck are you talking about, Jesse?
We all have to admit that the younger population is losing the culture war to what you're talking about.
I'm not calling them grifters as like that's their main purpose. They are doing what they think. Maybe they are doing what they think is right, but they're drawing in these young men because they're giving them a place. Like, and it might be an ad. If it is an ad, then they are grifters. And yeah,
okay, that we can go from there. We can use that. Some of them are grifters. I'm going to say some because he keeps saying all, and I'm not agreeing with that. Some of them are grifters, but the reason why we're losing the war is because the young men are being given a place in the right wing to go to. Quote, the right wing to go to. Because they are being given shelter because they're buying what the ads are selling. Is it that they're buying what the ads are selling, or is it that they had a place to consider the concept while they were discussing it? It's like what was the best way I can frame this? Imagine the culture war, the physical war itself, is instead a waiting room. You have a magazine, both sides of the chair. One sells you an ad on the left wing, the other sells you an ad on the right wing. The left wing says, you can't come into our room until you have agreed with every single conscription and opinion that we believe is sacrosanct and valued. This is our holy book. And if you don't accept everything in our holy book, you cannot be in our clubhouse. And the right wing, I really should be air quoting because the left wing is not all of what the left wing represents, and the right wing does not represent all of what the right wing represents. What the left wing says, you can't come to clubhouse until you agree to abide by our rules and say the holy sanctimonious aspect of our terms of service. And the right wing says, listen, you ain't gotta sit here in this chair and think about it. You wanna come over to the side room, nigga? We got barbecue. Barbecue, nigga? Barbecue, nigga? You like money? I like money. We can also teach you how to make money. Come here! Come here! Come say hi to Felicia. She got a big poom poom. And all of a sudden, you're sitting there like, all right, it's time for me to check on these people. What is this flashing? It's time for me to check on all these people. What happened to the guy who was in the waiting room? Was deciding between if you wanted to be left wing or a chud? Where'd he go? He went to the right wing. What do you mean he went to the right wing? Who goes to the right wing? What the fuck did they sell him on? They brought out Felicia. Felicia with the big poom poom? Felicia with the big poom poom. God damn! These motherfuckers keep beating us! These motherfuckers keep beating us! We can't beat these motherfuckers! What do we sell them on? What do we possibly sell? What do we do? That. In a cycle. Right now. That is them. That is them in a cycle. We can't beat these motherfuckers! These Division I right-wingers from the University State of Hustling keep beating us! How is community college of chartology supposed to win? How are we supposed to win at USCM? Man, what do we do? Coach! Where are you? What's the play? Coach comes in with a playbook. Well, first we have to decide what it actually means to have a play. And then once we decide that, we need to decide what the masculine and feminine example is. And, they just took another one. Fuck. We can't beat these. We can't beat these niggas. We can't beat these niggas. It's not often. You usually see an example of the reason why it is actually funny that there is no longer, quote, panel debates. And it's because this is what a panel debate is. This is the whole thing. Nice, another one. This is the whole thing. This is it. This is it. Like, to its prime function. They cannot get to the core of what they want to solve for because they cannot decide how to decide. Like, imagine if you could, that the maps of meaning. Jordan Peterson's original religious allegory text talking speech. You can find them all over YouTube. He has all of them up. Several ones from years back. Imagine that this is their version of the maps of meaning, where Jordan Peterson explains his philosophical worldview through the religious allegory of chaos. And chaos being a dragon that consumes whole society. And that the job of society is to learn how to tame the dragon. Their maps of how to not be a chud basically has a meandering first preface section that stumbles over itself in explaining how to not be a chud, but also what being a chud entails. Where being a man means being a person who stands up for women, but also a person who stands his ground against women. And in that sentence, you forget to mention in like a little footnote that it's like standing your ground against those women, the pick-me's. A normal person sitting in the waiting room of the culture war is not going to read your book and accept that if that is what you claim being a man is. And even if they're not fully sold on the concept of being a man, they're going to look over at all the other people socially around the cycle and the circle of what is being discussed and done and talked about, and they're going to see the people that are doing the things, and they're going to say to themselves, I don't think I want to be near those people. I think I want to be near my people. I think I want to go where those guys are, because they look like they're having fun. They got food, they got women, they're making money. I see people on the left making money, but they're making money because they're saying the right things, and like, I don't agree with them. Let me see what all that bullshit's about. That's what they're effectively experiencing, and that's what they're circling the drain on. And the more Erudite's not even fucking you're not even this shit yet. And it's like, this is the first 20-ish minutes of the, first 20-ish minutes of this discussion. I don't know when she comes in yet, because it's fresh to me. She's not even in a conversation yet. And they're already bickering amongst themselves. Ironically enough, the black male is working with what we would assume to be the perfect example of a masculine male. Bald head, full face beard, sitting in a chair, wearing the fucking workout shirt. And he's discussing with another example of what a man looks like. Maybe an Italian male. Wife beater, necklace, long hair, full face goatee. And they're bickering with each other. And they can't get to the point. Because one person has a good point that needs to be discussed. And everyone else is saying, but what are the numbers? What are the numbers, Mason? It's humorous. Does anybody disagree?
Oh, no, I agree with you completely.
Let me get chat real fast. Because I think it's been 3 hours. Yeah. We'll pause it here and we'll pick up tomorrow. Hi, Carl. What's so toxic about masculinity? Didn't Zoe Quinn make Alec kill himself? Yes, through by physically shaming him and claiming that she was assaulted by him. When literally we have video evidence of them being together in Winnipeg during the time that he was coding Night in the Woods and he was helping her code her game, where she was actively fucking him on the regular. There is an old interview that I'm pretty sure I'd have to find on SinglePlayerCarl that I was tagged in the thread of. An old interview where she was in Winnipeg with him, happy, nothing wrong, literally fucking lovey-dovey boyfriend-girlfriend behavior. And she fucking gaslit, gatekeep, and girl bossed the fuck out of him to the point that she then gaslit everyone around him and claimed that he assaulted her. He made a thread on Facebook where he said, I feel that I'm being pushed into suicide by people around me who want to have a prevailing narrative about me being an abuser. And the fact that they were able to convince his sister, in this case, Zoe Quinn, is able to convince his sister that he was some kind of fucking social sexual wildebeest is wild. Because he was not. It's a lanky white guy. And unfortunately, lanky white guys are the prime fucking victim of manic pixie dream girls. Because they don't feel like they deserve them. As for what's toxic about masculinity, the concept of masculinity is not what's toxic. It's the negative traits that have been idealized to be good traits to have, despite the fact that they are not good for you, they are not good for your lifestyle, they are not good for having healthy outcomes, and ultimately are the negative triad traits that we associate with male behavior that makes women interested in them. Literally the bad boy behavior where women are told these men are bad for you, but they say, no, I want him to be good for me and evil to everyone else. I want to be special. That's the negative toxic consequences of masculinity. And it's not even a masculinity thing. It's the toxic, words are hard. The toxic perception and the toxic personality traits of men and women taking advantage of other people. Because the same quality in women is the exact same negative quality in men. It is not a masculine trait. It's not a feminine trait. It's a personal character trait. Much like tropes in writing, a character trait isn't inherently bad or good because of it being demonstrated by a man or a woman. It is instead good and bad based on the context and the situation in which it presents in. A person who's defensive of his friends is not a toxic male who can't let his guys grow. It is a person who understands that his friends might not be as perceptive and might not be as emotionally educated on how to deal with the problem, so they will try to do the best they can to protect them from someone trying to take advantage of them. Like a seductress trying to woo your friend into a state of delusion to the point that he has her knocked up, and now she can do to him all the things that a woman can do using the power of the state to extract financial wealth from a man. For example, PJ Washington and Brittany Renner. Brittany Renner running game on PJ Washington and grooming him into knocking her up, and her then being a victim who then uses that... I'm hearing something happen in the background. It sounds like a dog. Using the victim status of now being a single mother and saying, no, it's just so hard for me. People don't realize how I feel and how I've been made to feel. Meanwhile, whole ass women are like, what the fuck were you doing around that little boy? You were grooming that little boy. Because if there was a fucking woman around that would have been able to protect and defend him from you, they would have been saying, like, that's mad fucking weird. Why are you grooming on this little fucking kid? Why aren't you dating a guy who's your fucking age? You want to talk about, oh, you come here, it's all wet and gushy for you, daddy. Okay, go do that with somebody who's 30 plus. Why are you coming over to a guy who's fresh out of school, who ain't got no game, ain't got no play, and doesn't realize the fucking danger that women are? You look fucking goofy for that. You're mad fucking ugly for that, sis. All the women, including the black women, who savaged her for that. The people who she was trying to cry to get the appeal of, and none of them were having it. That is an example of good and negative qualities being exhibited by both the male and the female traits. Just like it would be a positive female demonstration of these traits if a female sports agent said, listen, you hire me as your agent, I'm going to help you realize how you should be able to deal with these chicken heads. You go do what you need to do, donate your sperm and your semen to a sperm bank, have it on tap, get a vasectomy, then have all the sex that you want with these nasty bitches. Then, when these bitches get pregnant, and you know that you're not capable of having children because you had a fucking vasectomy, and you've got your sperm on bank, I will protect you by making sure that you never have to pay a goddamn dime. That, as much as a person would hate it, is a positive female trait. Because if you have a female agent, she's able to do things for you that a male agent couldn't do. The same thing that a male agent could be able to do things for you, if you were a female client, that a female agent couldn't necessarily do for you. Because the idea that we usually associate the idea of a shark, a business shark with, we usually associate that with a male perspective. But the female perspective is just as dangerous, if not more deadly, because there is a power that comes with gender. This is where the gendering comes in, right? Because now, you have a male shark and a female shark. Both of them are business sharks that understand how to move in a headhunter world, living by the standards of the HR department of a diversity, equity, and inclusion standard. The male is going to be about what creates profit. What actually brings us profit for our investment into this thing. The woman will say, are we meeting an equal standard? Are these women and these men meeting the standard and the baseline minimum qualities for their values and their totals and their goals? And both of them collectively will be in the interest of the business. Some women might try to put a DIE standard on saying, oh no, she needs to be able to have this power and position because women can do anything. But if that woman is not able to succeed at that position, it then becomes, okay, you don't do anything of value for the company. You are actively not making us money. You are fired. That would be a powerful thing to do. Because, since the social perception people have around femininity presents them to think, oh, women are the greatest people who can make those business decisions. If that firing comes from the mouth of a woman, it is going to be accepted. Whereas if it came from the mouth of the man, it will be questioned, if not rejected, by the populace's mindset. Because they think, oh, well, men, what do they fucking know? Whereas if it's a woman, it's like, ooh, I don't know. I mean, it would be one thing if it was a man. And thus now arriving at the Boondocks argument, right? I'd understand if it was a man that fired you. You'd be like, that man's toxic. But you got canned by a woman. I feel like that's a good place to stop it at. We'll pick this back up tomorrow night, everybody. Or rather, tomorrow evening. I haven't decided when I'll sleep. It'll probably be later in the evening. probably earlier than it was today. But that's all the time I have for you today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for this version of Versus Chat, where we had absolutely no agenda at all. I will reconvene with you tomorrow night, and if you consider that you would like to be able to support such a project like this, and want to be seen or heard during such programs, consider becoming a supporter of the channel at any of the links found on the screen above, and consider becoming a United Negroid Cringe founder, because as a member of the UNCF, you must remember that a Carl is a terrible thing to waste. This has been my chat room. This has been Versus Chat, and I've been SinglePlayerCarl. I'll be leaving, everybody. Goodbye, everyone. Play me out, Jethro. Does anybody have anything they want to mention before I leave? Damn, y'all motherfuckers just disappeared. Fuck! We were gonna have a whole wrap-up! Damn! Also, I think I finally broke my headset because my sound's not coming out properly in my